or online at arlingtonheightsheatingandcooling.net. The original Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling, not the biggest, just the best.
The fight against abortion in Illinois has never been more important than it is right now. Thanks to our elected officials, Illinois has become an abortion tourism destination. The number of abortions in our state continues to grow, despite the fact that crisis pregnancy centers outnumber abortion clinics almost 3 to 1. Now, thanks to a new effort by Caring Network, it's possible to reach abortion-minded women to provide peace of mind and security to help them choose life. This new Reach Her First initiative seeks to provide women with the assurance and information they need before they choose an abortion. But Caring Network needs your help to reach women who are considering abortion. For a one-time gift of just $150, you can help reach 5 women and help them choose life. That's all it takes to prevent an abortion. To make that gift, just go to 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring.
Rick Borick, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
When the stock market struggles, when inflation is high, you need to start looking through the inventory of all your accounts and say, is every one of these investments working as hard as it could be? Because every month during high inflation that you waste, you're losing 8 or 9% a year.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and our new time at 2 p.m. here on AM 560, The Answer.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Your business is under attack 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a fact. Small businesses are the low-hanging fruit. You may think you're protected, but you're vulnerable in many ways, and cyber attackers actively prey on small businesses. But Turnkey can protect you. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. Turnkey has a quick and efficient 12-point evaluation to determine if your business, your profits, are at risk. And right now, for a limited time, Turnkey is offering the first month of service to all new customers free. Peace of mind, free. It includes all Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, and completed data backup both on-site and off-site, plus help desk support. Don't leave you, your employees, and your customers vulnerable. Talk to Turnkey. Visit turnkey.pro. 3 decades of experience. That's turnkey.pro. Turnkey, the champion of small business.
That shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Spring. A time to get outside, be active, play with the grandkids, enjoy life. But if high blood pressure is holding you back, the sooner you get control of it, the sooner you'll stop being a walking time bomb. High blood pressure is a serious issue. Your blood vessels are constricted, your mortality risk is high. So what can you do besides take medications with side effects? Well, there's a delicious juice that can help bring your numbers back down. It's called 120 Life, and it has natural ingredients that have shown to lower blood pressure. Yes, a superfood juice is showing amazing results for high blood pressure without the side effects of big pharma medication. Try 120 Life risk-free now with a 2-week trial pack. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can can lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now. That's 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout for 15% off.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Crosscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Crosscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Crosscom.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Now, your official weather forecast.
More clouds and sun, not as warm. A shower in spots late this afternoon, high 66. Cloudy with occasional rain, thunderstorm for the night, low at 54. Cloudy with a shower and thunderstorm for tomorrow, high tomorrow at 64. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Staying local to begin today's program. Governor Jelly Belly, per his own tour in furtherance of his presidential ambitions, most recently at that fundraiser of Boomer Marxist honkies in New Hampshire over the weekend, where he was saber rattling in the direction of not just Trump, but all Republicans. No Republican should know peace as long as this administration is in power, right? So you've got the Stop Oligarchy tour with Comrade Bernie and AOC, and you've got Jelly Belly on his own gambit. He was asked if he's an oligarch, since stopping oligarchy is one of the phrases of the day where the center of gravity exists in that party. Are you an oligarch? Here's what he said. I think what people talk about when they talk about an oligarchy is the group of the most powerful people in society who are trying to impose their will on everyone else and make them pay for what the oligarchs are unwilling to pay for. That is clearly the opposite of what I believe in, right? I'm a Democrat. I'm someone who believes in little d democracy, and someone who believes that the very people who ought to be in charge are the working families of our country, the working families of the state of Illinois, and not the wealthiest people in our state or in the country. So you can use whatever word you like, but I'm saying there's a big difference between the people that Bernie Sanders is talking about and what I believe in. Don't you call Jelly Belly no oligarch. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line, and text line. Is that clearly what Jelly Belly believes in? Has that been your experience? Are there any working families out there in Illinois that would like to opine on the statement that he is not someone who, because of his wealth, is in a position where he wants to make everyone else pay for what oligarchs are like Bernie talks about, because he's not one. What oligarchs are unwilling to pay for. He's someone who believes that working families in the state of Illinois should be in charge. If I could borrow from a Bane in Batman, working families, do you feel like you're in charge in the state of Illinois? I mean, I'm no oligarch. First of all, the oligarchy has been sort of rendered meaningless because of its ubiquity, and frankly, it just becomes another meaningless way to talk about the political ruling class that both sides use, and it creates confusion. My billionaires are okay, and your billionaires are oligarchs. It's a bit tiresome. But the more important point is thinking about Jelly Belly's record of imposing his will. And by the way, for people complaining about President Trump governing through the perhaps expanded interpretation of the president's emergency powers, I mean, what are we talking about? All these COVIDian politicians on the left, Jelly Belly top among them, who governed autocratically through a bastardization of emergency powers at the state level, including many aspirants for their party's nomination in 2028. The Eva Peron of East Lansing, obviously Jelly Belly, Governor Patrick Bateman out there in California. The list goes on because it was all of them. Phil Murphy in New Jersey. Shall I continue? I think you get the point. Working families in charge. That's the thing I really wanted to seize on. He believes in small d democracy. The working families of Illinois are in charge of Illinois. Is the Chicago Teachers Union? I'd like to ask Stacey Davis Gates, are you an oligarch? Part of the oligarchy that needs to be stopped? That Comrade Bernie and AOC, Jelly Belly are talking about? I ask because the Chicago Teachers Union just unveiled a $6 billion statewide tax increase package. The Chicago Teachers Union did. Have they supplanted the Illinois General Assembly? Actually, I kind of appreciate that they're just rolling it out themselves, because we can stop pretending that the General Assembly is some independent legislative body as opposed to a wholly owned subsidiary of the government unions. Chicago Teachers Union's $6 billion statewide tax increase package. Oh, by the way, the coalition members, you'll find this interesting. Coalition members, all of these NGOs that we talked about when we talked about in our last installment of the Illinois DOGE series, where we profiled a group called One North Side that gets $1.25 million in state taxpayer funds appropriated through various sub-agencies in the form of grants. Organizing Neighborhoods for Equality North Side, One North Side. They don't even pretend, as we discussed when we raised this story, they don't even pretend that they are providing services for constituents in any material way. Services, social services, for example, for residents in a particular neighborhood or community. No. It's straight policy. It's straight political advocacy. It's policy advocacy. And then they use their events and the state funding that underwrites their events and their organization and the state funding that underwrites the salaries of their employees to do what? Platform and support and raise the profile of state legislators who are wholly owned subsidiaries of the Marxist grassroots and the public sector unions that are run by the Marxist grassroots, if you will. The working families of Illinois. Marxist grassroots is a very nice way of saying the party's apparatchiks, which is what they actually are. Political operatives and those they recruit, like in the Chicago public schools, to become political operatives, because that's what state taxpayers in Illinois finance as well with One North Side, is their recruitment efforts in places like Chicago public schools. One North Side, I mention that as an example because One North Side is a coalition partner with the Chicago Teachers Union in their new $6 billion statewide tax increase package. And that's swell. SEIU Healthcare Illinois, the Shriver Center on Poverty Law. Shriver? Kennedy family? Are those oligarchs? And so on and so forth. The Grassroots Collaborative, the Brighton Park Neighborhood Council, Asian Americans Advancing Justice, all of these NGOs that are on the dole on the dole, meaning the taxpayers' dole, to underwrite the permanent campaign that the left runs. $6 billion statewide tax increase package rolled out by the Chicago Teachers Union. And the good news is that most of the kids in CPS won't be able to read it. I can. A digital ad tax, $725 million in total. A tax on corporate offshore sheltered income that's supposed to raise $200 million. Tax on carried interest income, they call it tax on hedge fund managers, $1.5 billion. Billionaire wealth tax, $840 million. Right, like, first of all, I mean, none of this stuff probably goes anywhere. All of these estimates are totally ridiculous because, for example, the billionaire's wealth tax, do you think they are immobile? But I digress. It's really not even the point to address these refried tax increases that they're always touting and promoting. Tax on long-term capital gains, corporate income tax hike, close corporate tax loopholes, quote unquote, expand the death tax. That's a good way to continue incentivizing the mass exodus, and so on and so forth. Their typical wish list. Because how much more of their money do they need? More. No number. I know we got $50 billion and 3 cents from Stacey Davis Gates, but the general posture is always more because we have a permanent campaign to finance. And there's always another group of apparatchiks that can stand up another quote-unquote neighborhood organization, and we need to be able to sprinkle the infield, prop them up, make sure another identity group has been served so that the permanent campaign can continue at taxpayer expense. Continue to crowd out the private sector and continue to crowd out electoral competition while we're at it. George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan, I don't look at Pritzker as an oligarch. I look at him more like a fat Albert regular guy.
Hey. Thanks for the call, George. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. It's 46 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump is expressing confidence in Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. In an interview with ABC News, Trump says he had great talks with Hegseth, saying he hopes that the former Fox News host will be a great defense secretary. The comments come amid a bevy of press reports calling Hegseth's leadership into question. The car crash that killed 4 people in Illinois this week was likely not a targeted attack. On Monday, a woman veered off the road into an after-school camp in Chatham, killing 4 students between 4 and 18 years old. Police are still investigating the cause of the crash, but say it's probably not targeted. The driver, identified as Marianne Akers, is not in custody as officials await the results of toxicology tests. This report is sponsored by Dairy Queen. Get big summer flavor in every bite with the new DQ Summer Blizzard Treat Menu featuring new mixing bowl mashup, fan-voted s'mores, and more. For a limited time right now at DQ. Happy tastes good at participating locations. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Hey Chicago, it's me, Larry Elder, the sage from South Central, the great Eldersky, Don Lorenzo, and I want you to join me along with Dan Proft and Sean Thompson for AM 560's upcoming cigar nights on May 21st and 22nd. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and sitting down to talk about everything that's been happening during the first 100 days of the Trump administration. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. And I'll see you on May 21st and 22nd.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-505-8709. 800-505-8709. 800-505-8709.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move. We just listed our house on the market. Just make sure you have the right attorney. Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that? They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime adventure. Set sail August 16th through the 23rd on the Patriots Alaska Cruise with me, Larry Elder, Mike Gallagher, plus special guests Jennifer Horn and Joe Piscopo. Experience breathtaking glaciers, fjords, and wildlife, all while diving into critical discussions about America's future with today's top political voices. Cabins are going fast. Text TRAVEL to 94878 right now to secure your spot before it's too late. Travel to 94878 right now to secure your spot before it's too late.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
More clouds than sun. Won't be as warm today. A shower in spots. High today at 66. Rain, thunderstorm tonight, low 54. Shower and thunderstorm for tomorrow, the high 64. Clouds and showers Friday, the high at 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The Trump administration continues taking it to these alleged institutions of higher learning. This week, the Department of Education found that, Office of Civil Rights found that Penn, University of Pennsylvania, Ivy League, failed to comply with Title IX. Think Leah Thomas here.
Oh, no.
And the order to the University of Pennsylvania could not be any clearer. The demand is that Penn issue a statement to the university community stating that the university will comply with Title IX and all of its athletic programs, restore to all female athletes all individual athletic records, titles, honors, awards, or similar recognition for Division I swimming competitions misappropriated by male athletes competing in female categories. That's Leah Thomas, obviously.
Yeah.
Send a letter to each female athlete whose individual recognition is restored, expressing an apology on behalf of the university for allowing her educational experience in athletics to be marred by sex discrimination. UPenn has a choice to make. Do the right thing for its female students and come into full compliance with Title IX immediately, or continue to advance an extremist political project that violates federal anti-discrimination law and puts UPenn's federal funding at risk. I can't wait to see what Penn will do, but the important thing is that Leah Thomas is poised to be erased from the record books, and people like Riley Gaines are poised to be restored to the record books as is appropriate. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line.
Oh, I want to see her, Riley Gaines, get that number one spot for the NCAA swimming competition she was in, where she took second place to him. I want them to be on their knees, handing her that trophy, and her just, going live with it somewhere on Fox or News Nation or anywhere, because that's a big moment for her.
Mm-hmm.
And other women, too. I mean, good.
Paula Scanlon was one of the first of Leah Thomas's, the Clownfish's teammates, to speak up against the school. She said, I was excited to hear the Department of Education is cracking down on the University of Pennsylvania. Ultimately, though, I'm skeptical that my alma mater will take meaningful action. They've had years to address this and to apologize to female athletes affected, yet they've chosen not to do so. Well, that's true, Ms. Scanlon, but now their butter is on the line, and that changes everything, let me tell you. So we'll see what they do. The university is currently being sued by former teammates over the Leah Thomas situation. So we'll see what happens, but this is real progress. The attack that Department of Education, the Department of Justice as a backstop, President Trump in going after these Ivy League schools, and not just Ivy League schools, and attaching real consequences to their obscene conduct. I'll tell you what, the other thing is, it'd be really interesting if Penn recants because money's on the line. And what message will that send to the parents of so many of these athletes, and not just on Penn's team, but who competed against men playing women's sports and sort of were silent and went along because of fear. Boy, if it turns out it's so obviously wrong, it's so obviously discriminatory, it's so obviously antithetical to our basic understanding of the human condition, and yet I didn't really want to say anything. We have to have these female athletes sue. We have to have they become influencers. We have to have Riley Gaines leading the charge because
thank God for her.
Because too many one of many, because too many moms and dads wouldn't. It's just sort of a sad commentary.
I know. There are a bunch of cowards everywhere. But Leah Thomas, remember, she did sue the Olympics because she wanted to be, because she's a woman, so she says, and the Democrats think men can be women too. But she lost her legal battle against the Olympics. So I don't think she's going to be taking this lightly, and I don't know if she's going to be giving her trophies away or her titles so easily.
Well, that's not really up to him. It's up to the University of Pennsylvania how far they want to take this fight, so we'll see. It really is. There is a little bit of a spring in the step of those who are willing to accept biological reality because of the actions the Trump administration is taking, because of that Supreme Court holding in England. And it's generating some different sorts of conversations. And it's interesting, the reaction of the some of the trans activists that had been celebrities have been given great deference as they paraded around and made these demands. One such person across the pond there in merry old England was a trans woman named Shivani Dave. And she was on a program with news presenter Julia Hartley Brewer to talk about that that Supreme Court decision in England that a trans woman is not the same thing as a biological woman. They're not the same thing.
Right.
Well,
what? Oh,
this is how that went.
Okay. Because we all agree what those words mean. So if I hold up this navy blue mug and say that's orange, and use one of those, we have to be using words that have the same meaning. It's navy blue. So when I say it's navy blue, then you have to understand that as the same thing as I understand that. Otherwise, it's a meaningless conversation. So when we have a conversation about what is a woman, we need to all know what we mean by that. Now, it's your view and the view of many activists, I'm not saying you are, and many activists, that women has a number of different categories. People who were born women and are women, and men who believe that they are women or have a piece of paper saying they are women. The Supreme Court was very, very clear.
Yeah.
They're saying not only is the law now, they're saying it has always been the case that because you have a piece of paper, even a piece of paper, a gender recognition certificate, saying that you are legally a woman if you're born a man, you are not, in fact, a woman. Do you not accept that, or do you accept that ruling?
I mean, like, that's whatever. Like,
no,
for
that's
me,
not an answer to a question.
Let me finish
You're not a 12-year-old.
Let me finish my sentence. That is, to me, whatever, because for me and my community, trans women are women. They have always existed. They will always continue to exist.
What does that mean, they've existed?
Well,
no one's saying they're figments of imagination.
Yeah, but we are saying that they're women.
No, saying they exist is not the same as saying they're women.
Well, I'm saying that they're women.
And but that's not the same as saying they exist.
If the law doesn't want to...
Well, no, we need to use words that have meaning.
Well, here's the words that have the meaning, because I've spent time to write these words, right, for you.
And we listen to them.
Frankly, I would rather share a bathroom with 100 trans women than one legal biological woman who wants to know what's inside my pants. And Julia, if I'm right in remembering, you did ask me what my genitals look like once live on TV.
I think that was in the context of a conversation and you raised that issue yourself.
I remember the quote. You don't have dangly bits, do you? So do you want to discuss dangly bits or not? Because frankly, I am now feeling in a position where I'm in a room with you and I feel unsafe. Yeah.
You feel unsafe?
I feel unsafe. I feel my heart racing. My hands are starting to sweat. Do you want to touch my hand? Would you want to clamp me now? And I actually think I'm about to have a panic attack from sitting in a room with you. So I'd like to leave now.
Yeah. Yourself.
So you're feeling... Yeah, you were asked to come on the show to have a conversation.
And I've had a conversation.
We had a very nice...
We've had a conversation.
Well, you read out a statement, and now I'd like to ask you some questions.
You read out your statement. You did at the beginning.
A statement. No, that's me introducing the topic for people who are just tuning in and
you added your ad-libs. You got to say what you thought about it. I've said my piece, and now I'd really like to go.
I thought we were you actually plugged into a mic there. I thought we were going to have a conversation.
Yeah, and he's gone. But again, the clarity here. Is everybody ready now to answer that simple question? Is a man presenting as a woman the same thing as a biological woman? No. Because, again, the activists, the trans activists like that person, Shivani Dave, very clear, as others have been, a trans woman is a woman. That's their position. And I don't know why it's so difficult for people who know what the truth is to speak with that same sort of clarity.
312-642-5600. Also, our text line is open.
And I'm going to continue beating this drum until people are pressed to stand and be accounted for. What you knew for all of your life until this political movement turns its sights on biology and shame some people into succumbing to their sort of sentimentalist tendencies. So now we're at this point. We're at a point where we have a Supreme Court justice who doesn't know what a woman is. And that provides more political cover for people to also retreat. Well, when you retreat, all sorts of bad things happen, as we have borne witness to over the last several years in particular. And I further don't understand why it is just so complicated to distinguish between tolerance and acceptance, between tolerance and cheerleading, between tolerance and cowardice. I can, yes, as the presenter said, yeah, of course you exist. I don't pretend that Shivani Dave is not a person.
Right.
But, and if you want to, as an adult, if you want to present yourself as what you think a woman is, and that's how you're going to live your life, even though you're a biological male, okay. I don't want to hurt you. I'm not trying to deny you the same rights and opportunities that I have. But I'm not going along with that. I'm not going to affirm. I am not going to cheerlead. Why are those lines so difficult to draw for so many people? It's pretty basic stuff.
And if you're going to become a woman, then act like one. Having a little hissy fit and getting off the set. I don't feel safe. Let's stop it.
No, actually, the idea that acting like one makes you one is the problem.
Right. Okay. Text message. He took his dandy bits and went elsewhere.
Dangly bits.
Dangly bits. That's what the person put. Dandy, dangly.
Jim in LaGrange.
To say it with an accent.
Ironically, Dan, Dangly Bits was the name of my first high school band. I haven't heard that name in a while, so thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard.
Were you a tribute band for any particular band?
Yes, David Bowie.
Of course.
Sure. Yeah. Perfect. Oh, Ziggy Stardust. Perfect. Well played. Joe in Hoffman Estates.
Hey, good morning, guys. I get a kick out of these neighbors that I have here and there that have the science is real signs up. But yet when it comes to a woman, they don't know what the science is. It says something about Black Lives Matter, nothing about women's rights matter. And then climate change, and they're all burning Teslas. These people are so hypocritical. Liberals, they say one thing and they do the exact opposite. Makes me sick.
Thanks for the call, Joe. But why? But yeah. Again, where is the pressure being brought to bear on those who are digging in? I mean, we see Jelly Belly in this state. He's digging in. We see the Maine in the state of Maine in litigation with the administration over this issue. I mean, there is resistance here. It's not like, okay, Trump won some executive orders sicking the Department of Education on the Ivy League, and then everybody just accepts, okay, you know, the jig is up. We're not going to do this anymore. No, they're pressing
not
it.
Not only that, I mean, they're promoting violence. Did you hear the governor of Delaware, Matt Meyer?
I was protesting a week and a half ago in Delaware. Over 1,000 people came to one of 3 or 4 protests in Delaware. And that might not sound a lot to a lot of people out there. In Delaware, 1,000 people is a lot of people, right? I think there are times and there are people who like going up and chaining themselves to a building, getting arrested. That's important. That's an important part of any movement.
Chain yourself to a building.
For over trans?
No, they're protesting Trump. I'm just going on the comment that, you know, the left is not taking Trump's presidency lightly.
Yeah, but specifically this issue. Because this is what these things happen. An executive order is issued. Some schools back down, some states back down, and then it just goes away. It's not going away. I know J.K. Rowling, fired up a cigar in celebration of the Supreme Court holding in merry old England, but it's not over there. These are important constituencies of the identitarian base, really majority of the new Marxist Party in the West. So again, are you ready to press forward? What you have here is a backstop in the White House, and it could be a very temporary one. You don't think there's an eye towards waiting the Trump administration out? You don't think that these universities and politicians that are digging in or are going to battle with the Trump administration won't come right back if that backstop is gone in 2 years or 4 years? So are you ready to press your advantage when it is offered and start to challenge where you live? School boards and city councils and state legislators.
And the governor. I mean, has any reporter asked him how Governor Pritzker feels on trans women?
I'm not talking about reporters.
No,
I'm talking about individuals. I'm talking about American citizens. I'm talking about Illinois residents. We're outsourcing this. Where's the press corps doing my job for me? Where's the president doing my job for me? Where's politicians doing my job for me? Dave on 294.
Hey, good morning, guys. The dogs keep things simple. They sniff out a gender. A few seconds later, the mystery's over with. Does everybody know there's two kind of transgender female, transgender male? My wife works in the NICU over 8 years. She's seen 2 births where this actually does happen. But the doctor decides to talk with the parents, okay, there's a womb, a uterus, fallopian tubes, etc. I'll let you guys comment from here. Great show.
Thanks for the call, Dave. Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Let me just go back and wish you a belated birthday, and hope you had a great day yesterday.
Oh, thank you.
With regards to this issue, Amy, it took my talking point. We need to hold a mirror and talk to the politicians and ask where they stand on this issue.
How many politicians? Who's your representative in Buffalo Grove, Bob?
Same one as Amy.
Yeah, Quigley.
Quigley.
I'm sorry. Who is your state representative? We're talking about Illinois, I thought. We're talking about our state representative here.
Canty.
Uh-huh. And have you asked Canty about this?
Not specifically, but I've met her and taken exception with her. She's out of touch.
Yeah, well. Mm-hmm.
And
apparently she's not, because she's your state representative.
Well, that's the problem I got is with her is the people surrounding me, and we got it statewide with all the crazies in Illinois that don't know the issues.
Mm-hmm. And so we decry. I mean, this is exactly my point. Thanks for the call, Bob. I mean, don't you ever get tired of just, sort of cursing the darkness? Oh, all these crazies. I mean, not to pick on Bob, but all these crazies in Illinois. Well, that's another way of saying throw up my hands. I can't do anything about it. I haven't taken this up with my state representative. I mean, how many people truly, if you're being honest, know who your state legislator is, state rep and state senator? How many people can name one member of their school board? Well, this is where all the action is. This is where all the action was during COVID, and people still don't know. It's where all the action is when it comes to your daughter's privacy, safety, opportunities to play sports, and yet most people are still, I can't do anything. All the way up to the conversation where we started the conversation with parents of Ivy League and other Division I athletics. Oh, I don't want to rock the boat. My daughter will just have to take a back seat to that dude from Penn. And now you have a backstop, an active one, and you still can't be bothered. The general you. If that description fits you, then I'm talking to you. If it doesn't, then I'm not. How did we lose all these counties? How did Illinois become the worst governed state in American history? Such a mystery. Everything's a mystery. Why the left is on the march, even when the center right or the right is in power. And nobody can figure it out? Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Can you afford not to have effective video surveillance? Is your outdoor inventory at risk? Theft and vandalism can hit your bottom line hard. Stop these events before they happen. Monitor your business 24/7 with alarm detection systems. We prevent crime with live operators watching video alerts, ensuring your assets and employees are secure. It's not worth the liability when you can effectively protect what matters most. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143. Spending too much on security guards to patrol your property? With rising crime rates, guards may not be enough. And the cost, it's adding up fast. At Alarm Detection Systems, we offer a more innovative solution. Live video monitoring. Cameras provide extra coverage in even the hardest-to-reach areas. Unlike guards, they never get intimidated. Our operators watch video alerts in real time, cut costs, increase coverage, and stay secure. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-208-0414. 800-208-0414. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and you get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-208-0414. 800-208-0414 and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:06, Senator Rand Paul says he has the votes to block the Trump tariffs. Heroic and principled or obstructionist and destructive? 6:06.
And later, President Trump brutally roasting ABC News to their face. Today, we're going to have variable cloudiness, a shower in the afternoon, a high of 68 degrees. It is now 6 a.m., WIND, Chicago.
It was like a Trump campaign rally. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
What the world has witnessed in the past 14 weeks is a revolution of common sense. That's all it is.
The president marking day 100 of term 2 in Warren, Michigan.
We're ending the inflation nightmare, the worst that we've had probably in the history of our country, getting woke lunacy and transgender insanity the hell out of our government.
President Trump also touted a big drop in illegal immigration, securing the border, and he talked up his trade policies.
I've imposed 25% tariffs on foreign aluminum and steel. It's keeping our steel mills going.
But the president is giving U.S. automakers a break from those tariffs amid ongoing economic uncertainty. And after a cabinet meeting this morning, President Trump will meet with business leaders to announce new investments in the U.S. Now, Democrats call the first 100 days of the second Trump term a disaster. Chaos, touting low Trump approval poll numbers.
He's acting like a king, a mob boss, a wannabe dictator. He said he wanted to be a dictator on day one. It looks like he's extending it.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, as Democrats spoke into the night at the Capitol, Senator Tammy Baldwin says there's an
unimaginable amount of havoc and harm President Donald Trump has caused for Wisconsinites.
Now, a judge in her state has been suspended by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested last week and faces federal charges, accused of trying to shield an illegal immigrant from being arrested at her courthouse. A suspected terrorist has been arrested in Iraq. linked to that New Year's Day attack in New Orleans when a man inspired by ISIS drove a truck into a crowd, killing 14 people.
Iraqi authorities say the ISIS suspect, who was not named, is expected to stand trial in Iraq under that nation's anti-terrorist laws for being a member of ISIS. But specifics on how the suspect encouraged the attack is not yet known.
That's Fox's Gernal Scott. America's listening to Fox.
Good morning. It's 46 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says China will probably eat U.S. tariffs.
In an interview with ABC News, Trump said that China deserves the 145% tariff placed against them, and he doesn't believe they'll pass along higher prices to U.S. consumers.
We've been ripped off by every country all over the world. They're laughing at us. They thought we were stupid people, and we were.
The president said China has been making $1 trillion in the process. Trump added since he became president, gas is cheaper and grocery prices are lower. I'm Mark Mayfield.
A U-Haul facility in Dalton is destroyed by fire. The blaze started on Tuesday morning near the corner of 142nd and Dante. No injuries were reported, and the cause of the fire is under investigation. Authorities are investigating after 3 bags of $300,000 fell off a Brinks truck near West Suburban Oak Park. A Brinks employee told detectives that somehow the back door of the vehicle swung open and the bags of cash fell out. The incident happened late Tuesday afternoon in the 300 block of South Austin Boulevard. That's when it looked like a movie scene when several people started snatching up piles of cash. The search is on for anyone with any information on who may want to turn in some of the money. There's no word on how much money is missing. The number of job openings fell to a 6-month low in March. The Labor Department says 6.2 million jobs were available last month, which is down by 901,000 for the year. Federal government saw the largest drop in job openings. Total separations increased in state and local government, excluding education. News is a service of Valdecast Windows. For the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service, contact Valdecast Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Visit Valdecast.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hey Chicago, it's me, Larry Elder, the sage from South Central, the great Eldersky, Don Lorenzo, and I want you to join me along with Dan Proft and Sean Thompson for AM 560's upcoming cigar nights on May 21st and 22nd. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and sitting down to talk about everything that's been happening during the first 100 days of the Trump administration. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. And I'll see you on May 21st and 22nd.
Johns Hopkins University has found that just mild hearing loss doubles your risk of dementia, so hearing loss isn't something to ignore.
But hearing aids are so expensive and ugly.
Not anymore. Meet Audien Hearing. You can get nearly invisible hearing aids without a prescription starting at $98 a pair, and they're ready to use right out of the box. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, and with over 1 million customers, Audien is easy to trust. Visit audienhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
He's coming. Here he goes. Surprise! Your table saw broke. Also, the warranty expired weeks ago, so you need to pay for a new one out of pocket.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Oh, and the replacement part you ordered doesn't fit, so it's completely useless. What a waste.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
This Mother's Day, give Mom something that shines as bright as she does. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for a gift to make Mother's Day unforgettable. Roland's has such a beautiful selection of jewelry, and I'm a long-time customer of Roland's. I love this place, and I want you to make Mom feel truly special with a stunning Simon G necklace, a Roberto coin bracelet to match her style, or sparkling diamond stud earrings. I love that Roland's is family-owned, and I appreciate their expertly trained sales specialist, Roland's will help you find that perfect gift because mom deserves jewelry she'll cherish forever. Visit Roland's Jewelers, downtown Libertyville, or RolandsJewelers.com. That's ROLLANDS, RolandsJewelers.com. Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust this Mother's Day, like I do. RolandsJewelers.com, or call them 847-918-7300, 847-918-7300, Roland's Jewelers.
Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. The Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes, 13 minutes outbound. Inbound on the Kennedy from Montrose to the Byrne interchange, about 12 minutes. On the outbound side, about 14 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the old post office, 15 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 20 minutes. Outbound, about 15 minutes. On the Dan Ryan, inbound from 95th to the Byrne interchange, 14 minutes. Outbound, about 11 minutes. Traffic's a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
More clouds and sun, not as warm. A shower in spots late this afternoon, high 66. Cloudy with occasional rain, thunderstorm for the night, low at 54. Cloudy with a shower and thunderstorm for tomorrow, high tomorrow at 64. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So, the leftist, Mark Carney, the new Prime Minister of Canada, I'm sure you've seen.
Oh, yeah. He and his wife remind me of Tim and Gwyneth Walls. The way they dance and their awkwardness is very reminiscent.
Mark Carney, who Trump said, I would rather deal with the liberal than Pierre Poilievre, the conservative. Well, that's who he's going to deal with. This is who he'd rather deal with. Mark Carney from his victory speech.
As I've been warning for months, America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never ever happen.
Mm-hmm. And Canada is prepared to decouple from the U.S., so they threaten.
Our old relationship with the United States, a relationship based on steadily increasing integration, is over. The system of open global trade, anchored by the United States, a system that Canada has relied on since the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped deliver prosperity for a country for decades, is over. These are tragedies, but it's also our new reality. We are over the shock of the American betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons. We have to look out for ourselves, and above all, we have to take care of each other.
And when he meets with Trump, It's going to go like this.
When I sit down with President Trump, it will be to discuss the future economic and security relationship between two sovereign nations. And it will be with our full knowledge that we have many, many other options than the United States to build prosperity for all Canadians. Nous allons.
So is that a happy outcome in Canada? Is that a happy outcome in Canada? The successor to Trudeau from the left winning? You know, Mark Carney's a big net zero guy, too. Of course he is.
Oh, yeah. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Canada, they import a wide range of goods from the United States. From vehicles, are you ready for machinery, electronics, mineral fuels, plastics, pharmaceuticals, industrial equipment, plus agricultural products, such as prepared foods, fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, snack foods, non-alcoholic beverages. How are they going to survive without us?
Is that the way we should approach it?
Well, it sounded like they wanted to distance themselves from the United States for fear of a takeover, which I think, you know, Trump was not actually being serious. He was just, you know, being provocative.
Does it matter who heads of state are? Does it matter if other elections are won or lost by conservatives or just Trump in the presidency? We have no opinion on who we'd rather be dealing with, who we would like to see ascend to the head of state in Canada and elsewhere around the globe. We're indifferent because it doesn't matter.
No, it matters.
So then is Mark Carney a happy outcome?
No, they get what they voted for. They voted for the Liberal Party yet again after just experiencing, 4 years of COVID hell.
And did Trump contribute to that victory?
Well, if you talk to him, we had Jerry Agar on, and Jerry Agar said his listeners are calling in and actually are fearful that Poilievre and Trump are going to team up together and take over Canada. That if he became prime minister, that Trump would take over Canada. So do I think Trump helped in this situation to get a conservative become the prime minister of Canada? No, he didn't help him.
Right. And you'd rather have a conservative as the prime minister of Canada than a little bit more of an adult version of Trudeau, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I just this whole thing. This is just really starting to rankle me. This idea among some that we just shrug our shoulders about anybody else's political fortunes except Trump's. And not to mention when Trump's political fortunes are tied to the success or failure of other people running for elective office, both domestically and internationally. You think Poilievre would have been a better partner to the United States in, frankly, advancing much of what Trump wants to do than Mark Carney? I understand it's election night, victory speech rhetoric, and Carney's big talking like politicians will do, and it's a lot more complicated for Canada because of how reliant they are on American goods and services. I get that all. So I'm not saying that we rise or fall with what Mark Carney and the Canadians do. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, should we take a willy-nilly approach to the outcome of elections that Trump is not officially on the ballot? Because that's what a lot of Trump voters do. Really frustrating. It's frustrating to see Eric Hovde lose a Senate race in Wisconsin when Trump carries Wisconsin. It was frustrating to lose 2 United States Senate seats in Georgia, for gosh sakes. And what a few more seats in the Senate would mean for moving the Trump agenda now in his second term. So, when you're, and I'm not asking people to go knock on doors and, initiate confrontation or even polite conversation. But I mean, within your circles of influence, when the conversations come up, can you at least stand and deliver? No, it's not right that girls are being pushed out of girls' sports by. It's not right. Okay? And yeah, the Western civilization is going to go on in one form or another after Trump leaves the political scene. So we may want to think past this individual. As important as he is in the moment and has been over the last decade, it's a team effort. Poilievre this and Poilievre. It was unproductive, the approach that Trump took to Poilievre and to the Canadian election. Unhelpful. Just as he has done in previous elections that were of import to him and to us. It's annoying to me. Chris in Lake County.
Yeah, it is infuriating. I'm not even sure why his chief of staff didn't tame that or say, hey, we need this guy. Let's get on the phone and have a conversation with that campaign for Poilievre, because that whole thing just infuriated me, watching that go down the way it went down.
Thanks for the call. And not to mention, I mean, so there was such a reversal of fortune from conservatives being ascendant there under Poilievre. Not only did they lose the national election, Poilievre lost his seat. He's out of parliament, too. Now, some of this, and I don't pretend to be an expert on the domestic politics in Canada, some of this certainly maybe Poilievre was too slow to react when the tide started to turn. Maybe there are things going on in his district. There are particularly local issues. I don't know. But I do know that having another statist like Mark Carney as the PM of Canada is not advancing the flag for free minds and free markets in the West. I do know that. Larry in Elmhurst.
Hey, good morning. Hey, it's like you said before. Some of these people think just because we won the general election, you don't have to vote anymore. I vote every time there's an election. If there's unopposed people that the liberals are running against, I write my name down in all of them. So,
yeah, there you go. Thanks for the call, Larry. Because I'm just trying to challenge people here with the summer doldrums soon to set in, and the only conversation we're having about, say, politics in Illinois is the musical chairs conversation about, well, is Jelly Belly going to run again for governor? And maybe he'll just focus on presidency. And there's a deal cut, and Rahm's going to be the run for governor. And then Ali G is going to be mayor. And then this person's going to, and Juliana Stratton's going to be senator. But Raja may. Is there any conversation about anybody other than the same old Marxists? Some have different names. Some don't. Some are literally the same old Marxists. No. Because it's the only thing that's interesting is Trump. Even though what happens in Illinois, I mean, if this isn't obvious by now, what happens in Illinois is much more impactful on your quality of life than what happens in D.C., short of war. Rand Paul, senator from Kentucky, don't you know, libertarian type of fellow, has teamed up with Ron Wyden, politics making strange bedfellows and all, a Marxist from Oregon, to advance a resolution to block Trump from imposing tariffs under emergency powers that he has claimed. Here's Rand Paul making the case on the floor of the Senate.
I am a Republican. I am a supporter of Donald Trump, but this is a bipartisan problem. I don't care if the president is a Republican or a Democrat. I don't want to live under emergency rule. I don't want to live where my representatives cannot speak for me and have a check and balance on power. One person can make a mistake. And guess what? But even if this were something that was magic and it was going to be a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, I wouldn't want to live under emergency rule. I would want to live in a constitutional republic where there are checks and balances against the excesses of both sides, right or left.
Is Rand Paul right?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
Or does process not matter either? Do the ends justify the means when Trump does it? Who wants to tackle that? Even if tariffs, even if Rand Paul believed that tariffs were a magic elixir that would bring nothing but milk and honey, he'd be moving this resolution. By the way, there's also a suit that's been filed against Trump for the way the tariffs are being imposed, which is through, as Rand Paul mentioned, a suggestion that there's an emergency that requires their imposition because we have trade deficits. And in point of fact, it's Congress who has the power to tax. That's what tariffs are, taxes, not the president unilaterally.
So do you stand with Rand Paul?
Does process matter?
Well, it doesn't matter who was president. Rand Paul would be doing this because that's how he feels.
Renee in Barrington, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, good morning. I don't know if it's smart or dumb, but we have so many local seats open here in Lake County that I just contacted, or I think I just used Google and found the slate of people or candidates that the Lake County Republicans recommended, and I just printed it out and took it in the voting booth and followed their recommendations because they don't make speeches. All I get is a few direct mail pieces, and it's really difficult to know which township local board people are really going to be in line with conservative thinking.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Renee. I mean, following the local party's recommendations is better than nothing. I wouldn't say they're, always on the money, but I mean that's certainly a fair starting place. Mike and Dixon.
Yeah, Dan, and Amy, how are you? I think maybe, are you assuming that Pallier would have been a better choice and then work better with Trump on tariffs? Because during his campaign, Pallier didn't seem like he was going to give an inch. So
what choice did he have?
Yeah.
What choice did he have, Mike? Thanks for the call. The country went into full panic.
No, full panic.
And then that was flamed by the left that saw an opportunity to resuscitate themselves and put Trudeau in the rearview mirror. It was going to be an election, a referendum on Trudeau.
Right.
And it turned out to be a referendum on Trump. What Trump could have done is said, you know what, let me tell you something. The Canadians, I'm not telling you what to do, but I'll tell you right now, with Poilievre, we have a partner, and we're going to get a deal done that's going to benefit both countries.
Yeah. Why didn't he
with
do
this
that?
Carney character? I'm back to I'm back to thinking about the 51st state.
That would have helped him so much.
Mitzi and Rockton, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Mitzi. Hi.
I'm calling regarding the tariffs. The tariffs been around since World War II.
Well, since a lot earlier than that, but okay, go ahead.
But they were to help build other countries that were destroyed. So tariffs are not new.
I know they're not new.
And people keep saying that they're, that it's a tax and it's going to, But like I said, if they've been around forever, but people weren't aware of it until now.
Well, okay, maybe some people were not, but I understand they've been around since the advent of our country in terms of in terms of a policy choice that politicians have made, a tax that they have used. There's no question about that. The question at present is Trump using it under emergency power, a theory of emergency power. Is that a legitimate use, that the president imposes tariffs unilaterally, even though it is Congress that retains the power to tax? That's the argument that Rand Paul is making.
Well, I think that he's trying to make us fair, because we don't normally charge tariffs, or very little tariffs or taxes, whatever you want to say. And I think he's just trying to make it even.
Yeah, well, that's what he's saying he's doing. But he doesn't have the power to do it unilaterally, is the argument. And the way that he should do it, if he wants to impose tariffs, is to move tariff legislation through the House and the Senate.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I think we agree on most things. But yeah, Okay. Yeah, great. Thank you. I appreciate the call. Tim in Woodstock.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. You know, as much as I love Donald Trump and love so much of what has been trying to do, sometimes I just think he really lacks wisdom. And, the book of James talks about wisdom really begins with the tongue. And learning to control it. I think if he'd have started a conversation with the Canadian people, really, and just addressing the people, pleading with them to look back and look at the way they were treated, the way the truckers and other groups, Christians, pastors, were treated during COVID, and just ask them, is this what you want your future to look like? You know, instead of rambling on about the concept of them becoming in the 51st state.
Yes.
I feel like
trolling Trudeau was probably not as productive as supporting Poilievre and reminding people, what occurred under Trudeau and what would occur if we have somebody like-minded in the PM spot in Canada. Yeah, I mean, it's not that.
I agree.
It's not that
100%.
complicated. Not that complicated.
Yes.
Thanks for the call, Tim.
He's just trolling him. I don't know if he was trying to be funny or. I mean, nobody took that seriously, but people in Canada did when he joked around about them becoming the 51st state.
Corey in Woodlawn.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, guys. You know, low tariffs are great for consumers. They get to consume junk from other nations, but it's terrible for producers. Producers need to be able to sell their products on other shores. And if these guys don't want to play fair, somebody has to look into that. I trust Donald Trump way more than I trust those 535 buffoons in Congress.
Yeah, but Corey, Corey. What if Trump doesn't have the power to do it constitutionally? In other words, you didn't like living under bastardized interpretations of emergency powers by governors like Pritzker during COVID, did you? But it's okay that Trump does it with tariffs because the ends justify the means when it's my guy?
Yeah, that's the tough one, Dan. That's always the tough one with this. But I still trust that guy a little bit better.
Thanks for the call, Corey. Yeah, well, I trust him more than I trust J.B. Pritzker or Gretchen Whitmer or Gavin Newsom, too. But the problem, what did we talk about with lawfare, for example, with the other side? They're setting a precedent. They're setting a precedent that is going to boomerang on them, and they're not going to like it. Are we doing the same thing? I mean, why doesn't Trump just unilaterally cut taxes then? It's an emergency. The federal government is taking too much of the American people's income. So I'm slashing the marginal rates. I'm reducing the capital gains tax to 15% or whatever number I say, because it's an emergency. Why go through Congress? I trust him. I would certainly like to see those policies that I'm describing. Slash the rates, slash the corporate tax, slash capital gains tax. I'd love to see it. So so if he does it under some theory of the president's emergency power, we're okay with it? Maybe it's time to revisit a classic. Sir Thomas More, Man for All Seasons.
Arrest him.
For what?
He's dangerous.
For libel. He's a spy.
Father, that man's bad.
There's no law against that. There is God's law. Then God can arrest him.
While you talk, he's gone.
And go he should if he were the devil himself until he broke the law. So, now you'd give the devil benefit of law. Yes, what would you do? Cut a great road through the law to get after the devil? Yes. I'd cut down every law in England to do that. Oh? And when the last law was down and the devil turned round on you, where would you hide, Roper, the laws all being flat? This country is planted thick with laws from coast to coast, man's laws, not God's. And if you cut them down, and you're just the man to do it, do you really think you could stand upright in the winds that would blow then? Yes, I'd give the devil benefit of law for my own safety's sake.
The brilliant Paul Scofield, who won Best Actor for that performance. Will and Skokie.
Hey, good morning, guys. This all boils down to a simple thing. People are lazy intellectually and lazy politically because that's what leads to stuff that I learned in grammar school. Nobody knows that today. Nobody knows how civics works. And you know, people are more worried like I am right now about getting out to a meeting and you know, I backup drive on my computer busted and I've got to figure that out. You know, that's what we're worried about. That's what we put our time into, and as opposed to politics, as opposed to staying on top of everything. Plus, with the news media, you can't really stay on top of anything because when you look stuff up, especially Google and stuff, they always throw the leftist stuff at you. And it takes time, it takes effort, it takes, you know, mental exercise to figure this stuff out and to make your decisions. And the arguments back and forth, I mean, Rand Paul has some very good arguments on things, but Congress is lazy. They're too busy, you know, paying attention to, you know, raising political funds or getting one-upsmanship as opposed to actually legislating. So it all boils down to laziness, and we've got to energize the country to not be lazy anymore. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Will. We'll be back at 6:36. Let me check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 46 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560. The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Law Enforcement Division of the U.S. Postal Service is assisting the Trump administration with mass deportations.
New documents reveal the U.S. Postal Inspection Service is cooperating with federal immigration officials to identify people it suspects may be in the country illegally. This includes sending photos of people's mail to immigration officers and allowing access to USPS surveillance systems and online account data. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
One person is dead, another hurt after a fiery crash on the Edens End North suburban Skokie. The collision involving a semi and a car happened early Tuesday morning near Toohey Avenue. The semi caught fire under the Toohey underpass while the passenger vehicle went off the expressway and ended up in a ditch. One person died at the scene. A second individual was taken to the hospital with injuries. News is a service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off of any service, including inspections. Don't wait for a heat wave for that old air conditioner to break down. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RIT.com. Again, that's AIR-RIT.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hey, John. Need any help over there?
Oh, hey, Chris. Oh, I'm good. Just digging some new flower beds and planting a couple shrubs.
You sure you should be doing that? You know, with your high blood pressure and all?
That's all good. I got my blood pressure under control now.
Really? New medication?
No, a superfood juice that is absolutely delicious.
A juice?
Yeah, it's 120 Life. It has 6 natural ingredients that have shown to control blood pressure.
Wow. In a juice?
Yep. So controlling my blood pressure tastes great and I feel great.
I wonder if 120 Life could fix my procrastination getting yard work done.
Not sure about that, but it sure helped me.
Certainly has. You and your yard look great.
Try 120 Life risk-free and get a 2-week trial pack. Order the 8-ounce drink or powdered mix. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now. 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout to save 15% and get free shipping.
Are you looking for a peaceful and enduring resting place for yourself or a loved one? Discover Fairview Memorial Park in North Lake, Illinois, a tranquil haven where your family's legacy can be honored for generations. We're excited to announce the upcoming completion of our beautiful new garden mausoleum opening this spring, offering both above-ground burial and cremation options. This serene space is surrounded by meticulously maintained landscaping and beautiful trees. With limited space available in our mausoleum, now's the time to plan ahead. Reserve your family's place today with prices starting around $7,000. And for a limited time, take advantage of a $500 discount when you pre-purchase a crypt. To learn more or secure your spot, visit fairview-memorialpark.com. That's fairview-memorialpark.com. Or stop by Fairview Memorial Park at 900 North Wolf Road in North Lake. Fairview Memorial Park. Peacefully beautiful.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
From the Team Hawksburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 17 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 14 minutes. Outbound, about 14 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 23 minutes. Outbound, about 16 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, we've got an accident on the right shoulder. This is going to be right at Ashland Avenue. Again, it's about 30 minutes on the outbound side. It's about 17 minutes. This report is sponsored by Discover. Guess what? Discover's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts you're stuck in the past based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check out your forecast from the National Weather Service.
More clouds than sun. Won't be as warm today. A shower in spots. High today at 66. Rain, thunderstorm tonight, low 54. Shower and thunderstorm for tomorrow, the high 64. Clouds and showers Friday, the high at 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
'Cause they got the beat, the campus beat, the campus beat. Yeah, the campus beat.
Will and Skokie prompted an impromptu segment of Campus Beat talking about the lack of civic literacy, an underappreciated point. So let's appreciate it. I'll tell you something I do like that Trump did this week. Well, there's lots of things, but another thing. To the extent the National Endowment for the Humanities continues to exist, which it shouldn't, but to the extent it does, this is at least a productive use. Trump administration announcing this week an opportunity for American artists to create sculptures of historical figures like George Washington, Patrick Henry, Davy Crockett, and other American heroes as they so choose, in celebration of the nation's 250th birthday. How many people even know that it's
the 250th birthday?
And
what birthday? When's the birthday?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The National Endowment for the Humanities announced on Thursday it will be handing out grants for artists to sculpt one of the 250 American historical figures identified by the Trump administration for placement in what you've heard Trump talk about before, a new National Garden of American Heroes. Now, I mean, this is why you don't like the National Endowment for the Humanities a government or a government-appointed commission coming up with the 250 names. You let 1,000 flowers bloom. You want to seek grant funding for somebody you consider to be an American hero worthy of inclusion in the National Guard of American Heroes, then submit your application, make your case, or get it privately financed, one of the two. But anyway, that's a secondary issue. Because, one of the ways that you study history, and I think people who may be not otherwise enamored with it are more intrigued when you focus on individual people and accomplishments, and then you put them in historical context. And this is sort of a gateway to get people to be a little bit more literate about the history of America, the history of the West, the history of the world. So that's positive. And it prompts me to tackle this piece by David Bruce Smith, who is the founder of the Grateful American Foundation, which also includes a book prize that's awarded. He laments in this piece over at RealClearPublicAffairs.com the state of civic literacy, or the lack thereof. And, of course, as we talked about yesterday, when you have wide swaths of American kids who can't read or do math, but particularly read at grade level, then your civic literacy is going to suffer, to be sure. Actually, it was an important point that Dana Perino made. This in response to that absurd Capitol Steps. It was almost like a Capitol Steps skit, like the comedy troupe Capitol Steps. The Capitol Steps sit-in by Cory Booker, Hakeem Jeffries and company. The Look
Randy
at Me as we
Weingarten.
gaze at our navels sit-in. Dana Perino noted two special guests at the sit-in and offered some commentary on them.
Two of the primary guests of this fake sit-in were teachers union people, Randy Weingarten and Becky Pringle. And if you want an example of where there's a civil rights violation, to me, most of the children in America failing to be able to read and write, while these people get more wealthy, these people pretend like there's no problems across America. They are the ones that kept the schools closed, where you lose a generation of children, and they're the ones that were there because they fund this kind of thing. Maybe this works for their little small group, but that they didn't do anything but talk amongst themselves at their fake sit-in.
Yeah, the teachers' unions.
Yeah, I saw her sitting there because the crowd, it went from 10 people to 8 to 7, and she was down with the struggle. Randy Weingarten sitting back there.
Dunbar High School on the south side. 2% of the students read at grade level. 0%. Zero. Not a single Dunbar High School student is at grade level in math. Graduation rate is 72%. Brought to you by the teachers' unions. Going back to this piece about civic illiteracy, building on general illiteracy, David Bruce Smith's offering. Students who had been accustomed to a traditional 50-50 split between the humanities and the sciences were capsized academically by the surprise Sputnik launch in 1957. The U.S.'s race to space and higher education into a tizzy, becoming fixated on improving science education above all. In the succeeding 7 decades, resources have consistently risen for STEM, which has been to our benefit, but this has come at an unnecessary cost. The humanities have been downplayed, devalued, and dodged. That uneven ratio has bestowed an unfortunate historic illiteracy on 3 generations. Most people, for example, do not know the philosophical roots of the Declaration of Independence, their rights as laid out in the Constitution, or the civic virtues their teachers should have taught them. For these 3 reasons, many Americans do not vote in local, state, or national elections. Being lazy intellectually as well as politically, as Will from Skokie opined, right on the mark. Even amid the crisis of civic illiteracy, Only about 18% of colleges and universities nationwide require the study of history and government in their general education programs.
Wow.
In years past, when the architecture of academia was different, a plethora of institutions such as Harvard, Rice, Notre Dame, Johns Hopkins, William & Mary proffered requirements for focus classes in American history. But their phase-out, begun in the 1960s, was practically completed by 2000. According to a report from the American Council of Trustees and Alumni, nowadays at Columbia, students must take at least 9 courses to graduate with a BA in history. Of these courses, 4 must be in a chosen field of geographical, chronological, or thematic specialization. 3 must be outside of the specialization, including 1 course removed in time and 2 courses removed in space. In other words, comments Smith, the major requires exposure to a variety of histories, none of which need touch on America. Well, that's the other thing that happened to civics and to the humanities that he's sort of referencing by insinuation here, which is the left got a hold of it. The left hates America, and they destroyed the idea of value to be found in American history. American history is just a series of offenses against humanity. America is to be denigrated, not venerated. That's number one. And number two, of course, the identitarian politics, the revolution that began 100 years ago and produces outcomes like Shakespeare is just another dead white guy that has no relevance in the 21st century world. Actually, even the 20th century world, because English lit and Shakespeare and some of the great works started going the way of the dodo bird before the turn of the century. But I digress. To graduate with a B in history from Columbia, that example is so perfect. The reorientation away from the study of American history is now the norm in the American Academy. In 2020-2021 academic year, 18 of the top 25 public universities did not have a wide-ranging American history requirement for students seeking a BA in history in the major or core curriculum, nor did 24 of the 25 best national schools. Even legendary linchpins of the liberal arts, Amherst, Swarthmore, Vassar, Smith, Williams, Pomona, fared poorly. 21 out of the 25 colleges examined did not have an American history requirement. The consequences of foregoing the study of American history have a powerful effect on the population. Much of what is not learned or stays uncorrected turns into the misinformation that is so damaging in a free and democratic society. In 2015, a decade ago, 10% of college graduates believe Judy Scheidlin, TV's Judge Judy, was a member of the Supreme Court.
Oh, come on. Somebody got a picture of Martin Luther King Jr. was Judge Joe Brown.
In 2019, a survey found 18% of American adults thought Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was the architect of the New Deal. 26% believe Brett Kavanaugh was the current Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Only 12% knew the 13th Amendment freed the slaves. 30% thought the Equal Rights Amendment guaranteed women the right to vote. And it's almost like Jay Leno, Man on the Street-ish, these statistics, how disturbing they are. Our failure to educate future citizens for informed civic participation compromises the country. Institutions need to take these findings to heart and start with a requirement for the history major, embrace their obligation to address the crisis in civic education. Yeah, and so should the civically educated adults transmit those, transmit the demand that you know your country's history to kids and radiate out from there. But it's just the government K through 12 education and so many private schools too, beset by identitarian politics right now, it's been a total catastrophe. So you're just going to throw up your hands when it comes to your kids' education, too? Crazies out there, nothing we can do. Okay. Harry in Hawthorne Woods.
Hi, Dan and Amy. How are you? I'm not in Hawthorne Woods. I live in Florida now.
Oh, good for you.
I got the heck out of there quite a while ago. At any rate, I wanted to go back to a little bit about principle and process, well, which is really principle. Yes, I think it's extremely important. Process is extremely important. There's a conundrum here now that needs to be addressed, though. The other side, the Democrats or the liberals, whatever you want to call them, don't hold themselves to process nor principle. These are subjective moralists who will do whatever they want. So are we to hobble ourselves with process while they don't pay any attention to it? And they have the media for propaganda to go along with it. The media is supposed to be, the free press is supposed to be showing us if and when our constitutional rights are being violated, and they're not done that for forever at this point now. So, it's like getting into a boxing ring, and they'd be, okay, you can't hit below the belt, you can't kick, you can't fight, you can't hit behind, you can't, hit the guy behind the head, and they get in there and they're breaking all these rules, but we're going to hold ourselves to process and principle. What's the answer there, Dan?
The answer is you either do that or you prepare for a Hobbesian state of nature where might makes right, and you no longer have a free society. That's the path you go down. That's
agree.
the path you go down. So I mean, but we're not hobbled. And oh, by the way, Republicans have control of Congress.
Right.
So the president could be exhorting Congress to act within their proper purview to give him the tariff regime that he wants, for example, to move the tax and spend package that he wants, which is actually occurring, to act with specificity for whatever he thinks is needed to aid the effort on border security and removing people in this country who are here illegally. And the other thing he's doing is, these federal district court judges are overreaching, and it's creating a national dialogue about that, and they're going to the next level, and the Supreme Court is going to weigh in. And as we talked about a bit yesterday, Trump is betting that the 6-3 majority that is there because of his nominations will back his plays where he is operating within the bounds of presidential power and provide clarity on a number of issues that will hamstring the lawlessness of the left that you describe going forward.
That'd be great, but that doesn't seem to be the direction we're headed in.
Well, I think it's unclear. Thanks for the call, Harry. I don't know that it's not the direction we're heading in. I don't think that's clear at all. But you can't go down the ends justify the means road like the left does and expect that this thing is not going to break apart, because it will. It will. So, I mean, we're not the left and the left is not us, and we should guard that difference jealously. I don't want to behave like they behave, even if it looks like they're securing temporary victories or imposing temporary unfairness. I don't want to be them. I refuse to be. And I think that's what we need to do. Sheila in Arlington Heights.
Hi, I just would like to make a comment about education and how the left is taking control. They want to keep us dumb. They want to dummy down education and keep us numb at the same time so we don't complain by opening up more pot shops that are closer to schools that can't even have a liquor store that close to some of the schools where these pot shops are. But as long as they keep us dumb and numb, then they can control us.
Yeah. Yes, well said. Thanks, Sheila. Mm-hmm. We could be them. We could do what they do. We could be barbarians. They could not be us. We should make sure that distinction holds.
Mm-hmm. And we don't sing all the time like they do. This is 12 seconds. This is on the steps of the Capitol with Cory Booker and Hakeem Jeffries, singing along.
If we build this world from love, yada-da-da-da, yada-da-da, then God will build this world from love.
Yeah, the gay rabbi.
Along.
The gay rabbi. That's great. And the point is to not be lazy intellectually and politically. Mm-hmm. Go make the arguments. Stand up and be heard. A free society requires that you make the case and persuade your neighbors, not impose upon them. Chris and Joliet.
Hi. Dan, I love your show, and since Rush passed away, you're pretty much the only talk radio I want to listen to. But it's when it comes to points like this, it's where you frustrate me sometimes. I lost my job a few years back, 14 years, and we serviced Caterpillar. It was our primary 36% of our business. And I drive around this state where every small town had a machine shop that supported Caterpillar, and all their once beautiful main streets are now ghost towns. Mm-hmm. And I have to ask myself, at what point is it an emergency? And the reality of it is, when he was elected the first time, I remember his own party. I remember Paul Ryan having power and turning their back on him when he came into office and virtually shutting his agenda down. And now he only has a very finite 4 years to fix it. And, when you come in and start touting the laurels of a professional martyr like Rand Paul, it just makes me feel like you missed the point. We haven't calibrated where the fact that this president is the first one that does everything he can to give Wall Street and Main Street what they need. And unfortunately, when we've gotten to this point where we are with the tariffs and with trade, those free marketers, what they want is butting up against what Main Street needs. And it's real prevalent, especially in our state. It's real obvious. I look at it every day. I pull into small towns that had machine shops and other small industry, and all that's gone.
I appreciate the call, Chris. Thank you for that. And I respect your perspective on things. I think a lot of what's gone from Illinois has a lot to do with Illinois. As much as it has to do with NAFTA and trade arrangements. For example, when big Fortune 500 companies that are headquartered in Illinois started divesting from Illinois, companies like ADM, companies like CAT, where were they investing? There's some investment overseas. They're multinational corporations. But they were investing billions in states like Texas, Nebraska, Iowa,
lower taxes,
John Deere as well. So there's also something particular to the Illinois environment that we haven't addressed, and we certainly have shown no interest to address it given the political class that lords over this state. But your point is a fair one, and we will pick it up again when we talk to Steve Moore a little bit later in the show. Thank you.
Today, lots of sunshine right now, but spotty showers late this afternoon, a high of 67 degrees. Then tonight, occasional rain and a thunderstorm. It is now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
He'll meet with his cabinet. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The morning after President Trump held a rally in Michigan to mark a milestone.
The most successful first 100 days of any administration in the history of our country.
Saying it's common sense to get rid of DEI programs, change transgender policies, cut waste in government, and secure the border.
The number of illegal border crossers released into the United States is down, listen to this please, 99.999%.
And the president also talked up his trade policies.
You finally have a champion for workers in the White House, and instead of putting China first, I'm putting Michigan first, and I'm putting America first.
Saying he'll bring more auto manufacturing back to Detroit, but he is also easing tariffs on U.S. automakers amid worries about car prices going up. Fox's Doug Luzader reports.
We are getting pretty close on trade deals with India, Japan, South Korea. In addition to the cabinet meeting this morning, the president will meet with a number of business leaders at the White House today to announce new investments in the economy.
Democrats keep focusing on low Trump job approval poll numbers, denouncing the president's second term in speeches all night in the Senate.
It's chaos, one fiasco after another.
Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Here's Senator Chris Coons.
The last 100 days, President Trump has made Americans less safe, less prosperous, and less free.
This could be a big deal. What the Supreme Court will consider this morning.
An Oklahoma-based case that could allow for the nation's first religious charter school. That measure could also greatly expand taxpayer funding for religious education. Justices will weigh if St. Isidore of Seville Catholic Virtual School, which is privately run but publicly funded, can offer a religious education.
Fox's Todd Pyro. Wisconsin Supreme Court has suspended Judge Hannah Dugan, a Milwaukee judge who was arrested last week, accused of trying to thwart the arrest of an illegal immigrant in the courthouse. America's list.
Good morning. It's 47 degrees in Chicago and the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump was in Michigan Tuesday speaking in the heartland of the big three U.S. automakers as he marked his first 100 days in office. His remarks came after Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick announced a deal to ease some auto tariffs. Nick Harper reports.
The policy reversal will see companies spared stacked tariffs. In place already a 25% duty on imported cars, as well as 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum. The Commerce Secretary says the plan is rewarding companies who manufacture domestically, as well as helping manufacturers who are committing to invest in America. General Motors has welcomed the news, saying it was grateful for the president's support of the U.S. automotive industry. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
President Trump is expressing confidence in Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. In an interview with ABC News, Trump says he had great talks with Hegseth, saying he hopes that the former Fox News host will be a great defense secretary. The comments come amid a bevy of press reports calling Hegseth's leadership into question. Mayor Johnson's wavering on the idea of giving local police the power to declare snap curfews to curb teen takeovers. Police Superintendent Larry Snelling says he isn't quite ready to endorse snap curfews. He says the plan isn't entirely complete and must be constitutionally sound. Meanwhile, downtown Alderman Brian Hopkins proposed snap curfew, which authorizes the superintendent to declare a curfew when needed, will be considered today at a public safety committee meeting. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants with medical PPO insurance? It's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Hey Chicago, it's me, Larry Elder, the sage from South Central, the great Al Dursky, Don Lorenzo, and I want you to join me along with Dan Proft and Sean Thompson for AM 560's upcoming cigar nights on May 21st and 22nd. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and sitting down to talk about everything that's been happening during the first 100 days of the Trump administration. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. And I'll see you on May 21st and 22nd.
Johns Hopkins University has found that just mild hearing loss doubles your risk of dementia, so hearing loss isn't something to ignore.
But hearing aids are so expensive and ugly.
Not anymore. Meet Audien Hearing. You can get nearly invisible hearing aids without a prescription starting at $98 a pair, and they're ready to use right out of the box. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, and with over 1 million customers, Audien is easy to trust. Visit AudienHearing.com. That's AUDIEN Hearing.com.
He's coming. Here he comes. Surprise! Your table saw broke. Also, the warranty expired weeks ago, so you need to pay for a new one out of pocket.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money.
But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Oh, and the replacement part you ordered doesn't fit, so it's completely useless. What a waste.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Come hungry to Scott Tucker Solutions Night at Portillo's, benefiting the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. Join us Thursday, May 22nd from 5 to 8 p.m. at Portillo's in Niles at 8832 West Dempster Street and use the cashier code Portillo's20. The night's bill is on Scott Tucker, and you eating free Portillo's helps support the families of fallen and disabled Chicago police officers and their families via the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. Enjoy your favorites, hot dogs, Italian beef, and chocolate cake. Scott Tucker is picking up the check, and Portillo's is donating 20% of gross sales to the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. So bring your appetite to Scott Tucker Solutions Night at Portillo's. It's Thursday, May 22nd from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Portillo's in Niles at 8832 West Dempster Street. And make sure to use the cashier code Portillo's20. Eat well and come out and run up Scott Tucker's bill and support the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. We'll see you there. Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. The Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 26 minutes, 14 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 24 minutes. Outbound, it's about 31 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, about 43 minutes. Outbound, about 24 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 42 minutes. On the outbound side, it's about 36 minutes. That stop and go between Kidsey and First, that's due to an earlier car fire. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
More clouds and sun, not as warm. A shower in spots late this afternoon, high 66. Cloudy with occasional rain, thunderstorm for the night, low at 54. Cloudy with a shower and thunderstorm for tomorrow, high tomorrow at 64. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We talked a bit about this yesterday with Rafael Manguel at the end of the show. Rafael Manguel from the Manhattan Institute. But let's get more perspective from a former practitioner on the matter of police stops with the push to essentially eliminate traffic stops in Chicago in full effect. The Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. And as I said yesterday, you can imagine the members of such a committee under this mayor. Officers should be banned from making stops for certain violations such as missing only a front plate, a non-functioning headlight, or loud music. The term of art is pretextual stops. Okay. But our next guest, retired Riverside Police Chief Tom Weitzel, basically says there's no such thing as pretextual stops. What's pretextual about this discussion is using pretextual stops as a way to eliminate police making stops that result in serious criminals being taken into custody and improving public safety as a result. That was certainly Rafael Manguel's point, and he had a lot of data to support his position. But from a practical perspective, let's talk to Tom Weitzel. Tom, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Amy, thanks for having me this morning.
So the pretextual stop along the bugaboo of the defund the police folks.
Yeah, for sure. There's been a push in Illinois and probably nationwide, but there's been a real push in Illinois for years to get rid of traffic stops altogether. And some might find that hard to believe, but it really took a springboard in the March 2024 police officer involved shooting of Dexter Reed. That situation, what happened there is that certain media organizations collaborated with activists and with anti-police organizations such as Injustice Watch and other organizations to come up with this pretextual traffic stop quote or tagline, and they've just gone with it. And my position is there's no such thing as pretextual traffic stop. It's legal. It's good police work. And the United States Supreme Court has already ruled that it's in the 60s that it's legal, and they want to make it seem like police are driving around aimlessly just looking for license plate violations or driving without headlights, and then being able to seize on that to be able to find other things in your car.
Well, what they're really saying, Tom, is people are looking for black and brown drivers who have a missing front plate to pull over, and they're pulled over at disproportionate rates, and then then they may be found to have an outstanding warrant and they're taken into custody. But the racial profiling in the first place is the problem because, of course, as we know, the police forces are systemically racist. And this is the premise you have to start with to get to the conclusion they offer.
Yeah. And, in most cases, Dan, the police officers don't even know the race of the person they're stopping. That's true. I mean, most of these cars are heavily tinted windows. Yep. Do they always know the race? No, that's ridiculous. It's not.
Given how many times I've been stopped, clearly they don't.
No, it's made up, and it's so bad that the Springfield legislators are now quoting as part of the reason to get rid of. There's like 9 traffic stops they want to eliminate in Springfield right now. Headlights, taillights, and they're quoting newspaper articles from the Chicago Sun-Times, WBEZ Radio, as factual information as to push the legislation in Springfield when it's not factual. It's just somebody's opinion who already has an anti-police and law enforcement angle. So it's ridiculous that they're making this up. Pretextual traffic stops doesn't exist. I'm telling you, it's good police work. I mean, we pay officers to be suspicious, right? We pay them to know what's right, what's wrong, to what's out of place in the area they patrol. If we're not paying them to do that, like what do you want them to do? Just find a parking lot and sit there all day and wait for the next radio call like a firefighter out leaving the fire station?
By the way, WBEZ...
That's not their job.
By the way, WBEZ and the Sun-Times are the same thing, state-run media. Yeah. I believe they still will okay traffic stops if you are
driving in the left lane slowly.
No, if you're firing out the window while driving, then I believe they still will allow police to pull over that individual. But for anything else, I mean the litany of what your loud music, anything rear whatever plate violations, lights that's out and so on and so forth. They think that this is all just opportunities for racist cops to treat brown and black people unfairly, and it should be described that the fact that is their position should be described exactly that way, because that is the position, because otherwise none of this makes any sense.
No, that's correct. They believe that police officers wake up in the morning and they go to work with the idea that they're racist and they're going to go on patrol, and their duty that day is to stop minorities for potential traffic violations or criminal just because that individual is a minority. That they think that police officers, how they're trained. They wake up that way, and that's their mission for the day, which is ridiculous, and that's racist in itself.
Of course it is.
It's ridiculous, and it's offensive, but it's not being stopped. In Springfield, they're pushing that, and nobody's pushing back.
Go figure. In your article on the ChicagoContrarian.com, you talked about being a proponent that traffic stops are what the community wants. Can you give us an example when you were in charge?
Yeah, I would get complaints weekly, or at least concerns, asking for extra traffic patrol in everything from our school districts to residential neighborhoods to special events. They always wanted more traffic enforcement, never less. And I was always a proponent that the police cars in those areas kind of reduce crime, because when people would see the officers doing traffic enforcement or the car parked there, or maybe they did have a traffic stop and they're issuing a ticket or a warning, their lights are on. Somebody driving by that's looking to do a burglary or make a theft, and those happen, they see the police. They see the police active. They see the police in the area, and they move on to another location. So I believe that that's a good community function. And it not only helps in safety, but it helps in traffic safety. And they don't give tickets every time. A lot of times in these suburban neighborhoods, they're issuing warnings, just slow down, there are kids out. There's kids in the neighborhood. But residents want the police doing it. They're asking for traffic enforcement.
That's not been my experience, getting a warning rather than a ticket. But I'm sure that happens.
I get warnings.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or I'll just say, can you reduce it to a seatbelt infraction, please?
Right, and you bat your eyelashes, and right, I get it.
Jasmine Crockett him. Oh, please.
I'll try that. Some of the residents of neighborhoods in Chicago, like Streeterville, I understand, would like to go to like the AMC to take in a show, and they prefer not to be in the middle of mob action. So if Superintendent Snelling, I'm sure you saw, addressed the issue of these teen takeovers, you have some alderhumans suggesting the city needs to do more. And one of the things that's been reintroduced is sort of an expanded power to impose curfews if police get intel that suggests that there's going to be a mass gathering. Snelling talked about that the other day at the U.S. Conference of Mayors confab. What's your view on addressing teen takeovers, that sort of thing, and the idea that curfews is a useful tool for police?
I'm not sure that it's as useful a tool as they might think it is. Two reasons. One, the curfew is something that's used, they're going to enforce afterwards. The kids are going to be down there. If, like, say, for example, they've gathered at Navy Pier, they've gathered at outside an AMC. That is not a preventable. That's the police enforcing the curfew. So the incident is taking place. And another thing I didn't like about what the superintendent said is not only his staff would have the authority to put commanders to make that call, but so would an appointee from the mayor's office. So make no mistake that the appointee from the mayor's office could overrule the police commander, which I think is a terrible idea. You're sticking the politics back in to overrule police officers, commanders on the scene. And believe me, that would happen from time to time. So there would be some pushback by the political arm saying, well, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do this, when the police would be making the call saying, let's shut this down or let's enforce the curfew. There would be some conflict there.
I hate to make this more complicated than it is. I mean, it seems to me the issue with quote-unquote teen takeovers or the drifting where they take over an intersection and they're engaged in all sorts of reckless conduct with cars. The solution is arrests and prosecutions, and the word gets out that this is not consequence-free activity.
Yeah. Absolutely. Arrest needs to happen, and those mass arrests, you've seen those. They put them in the transport vans and they bring them in. But it also has to start at home. That's very true. People don't want to hear that. But the best preventative is from home, from parenting, but that's really not happening. They reached out to the school districts in Chicago, and that didn't have an effect. So they're at a point where what do? Then I guess what we should do is enforce the statutes that are on the books, and they should be making mass arrests.
Yeah, but why are they so afraid to make mass arrests?
That's because most of them are juveniles that are happening. Most of them are minorities in the city that are coming there. You will see a great deal number of officers that might have to physically take somebody into custody or chase them down, and they don't want that to play on the news media. That's why that is. They just don't want that optics or visual.
Yeah. It's right about politics, compromising public safety. It's the same old story. Tom Weitzel, retired chief of police, the village of Riverside. Tom, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great morning.
You too, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer. It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 golf outing presented by Signature Bank. And this year, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responder and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Wednesday, June 18th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign, which includes 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m., and a free digital marketing analysis. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Quick Delivery Service and by State Farm Insurance Agent Anthony DeGrotto.
You've heard us talk about our campaign this spring with Caring Network. They're a local pro-life organization based in Chicagoland that is working to prevent abortions in Illinois by reaching abortion-minded women with a message of life and hope. But they need your help to do that. Illinois has become a destination for so-called abortion tourism. As our neighboring states have restricted abortion, more women are coming here. The number of abortions, in fact, has doubled in Illinois in less than 7 years. Caring Network is committed to reaching the abortion-minded woman, the woman who gets pregnant unexpectedly and is likely to go to a Planned Parenthood or another abortion provider to end her pregnancy. Caring Network needs your help to reach her first. You can help this effort by making a one-time donation of $150. That amount will make it possible for Caring Network to reach 5 women who are considering abortion. They provide services for these women like telehealth counseling with a nurse. They can schedule an in-person appointment to show a pregnant woman her baby on an ultrasound as well. To learn more and to make a donation to Caring Network, just go to 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring.
8 years. It has been 8 years since QC Kinetics has been the nation's leader in non-surgical relief for joint pain. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and this is remarkable. Using regenerative cell therapy to restore tissue in your achy joints. These are biologic growth factors with robust healing properties, carefully and strategically placed in your joint. Listen, it's a powerful and potent way to give your joints the new life and repairing old tissue. Best part, there's no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. This is an all-natural option with lasting relief. Imagine doing all the things you enjoyed this summer without joint pain. Here's what I want you to do. Contact my good friends at QC Kinetics and ask for your free consultation. You have nothing to lose. Saturday appointments available. The number to call is 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Bob Chivato, owner of Go Exceed and a customer of Signature Bank. By leveraging AI and machine learning, we provide data management solutions for corporations to save time and money managing their cellular devices. While we rely on machines to help us run our business, we believe personal relationships are essential. This is why we chose Signature Bank. Having a banking partner who understands our background, our business, and our priorities is fundamental to our success. Any bank can provide basic services, But having a bank that you could trust, one that looks out for you and treats your business like its own, that's irreplaceable.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned, integrity since 1981.
Attention all listeners, financial planners, CPA, and divorce attorneys. In 2021, there were over 420,000 licensed loan originators. Today, that number is down to 93,000. That's a reduction of over 75% of licensed loan officers within the past 4 years. If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender who's still in business. While mortgage companies have been closing and hundreds of thousands of loan officers have left the business since 2021, Team Hochberg has expanded and is stronger than ever and would love to earn your business. Let's review. Hundreds of mortgage companies have closed down and over 327,000 loan officers exited the mortgage business, while Team Hochberg has expanded and is stronger than ever. If you'd like to work with experienced mortgage professionals who'll appreciate your business, call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1124061.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, we're still hearing from displaced federal workers because, of course, in the digital age, the disgruntled leftists that were biting their tongue to keep their jobs in the Trump administration, or at least that's what they thought, are no longer biting their tongues when they get relieved of duty. Here's a woman, PhD, she'll tell you, of course.
They always do, Dan.
Yeah.
And what did you write your dissertation on? Has to be the follow-up question. Yeah.
She was in an office within, I believe, the State Department, the War Crimes Office. And she's now using her voice, she sure is, on TikTok to, lodge her grievances against the administration.
So this week I lost my dream job at the U.S. State Department. I worked in the War Crimes Office, but Trump and Rubio decided to eliminate that office, not to mention the entire undersecretariat that deals with human rights and democracy and labor. So I'm out of a job. And the only silver lining there is that I get my voice back because I'm no longer working for this administration, which is hell-bent on bringing us into fascism. So brand new to TikTok, just wanted to introduce myself and say hi. I have a PhD from Oxford University where I focused on how countries recover from genocide and how victims get justice. That's what I was trying to do as a senior policy advisor in the Office of Global Criminal Justice, which no longer exists at the U.S. State Department. So I'm here and I'm looking for ways to continue the good fight.
Well, golly gee, we sure look forward to hearing more from you in the coming weeks and months, don't we?
Is this another reason why Dan Proft is single?
Oh boy! I mean, the idea of marrying.
Coming home to that every day.
Well, I mean, really, I just. There's a lot to dig into there. We'll have to save that for another time. But at 7:37.
Yes.
Another target for DOGE has revealed itself. The Job Corps. We'll go over the numbers there. 7:37.
And you should hear, did you see that David Muir interview with Trump?
I saw the Terry Moran interview.
Terry Moran interview, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They kind of look alike, that's why I said it. Yeah, he kind of stuck it between his eyes. We'll bring it to you. But now let's head into that newsroom, and here is Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 47 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560. The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says his first 100 days in office have been the most successful of any administration ever. Speaking at a rally in Michigan Tuesday, Trump talked about lowering inflation and ending what he calls transgender insanity. President Trump's global tariffs could be halted after a Senate vote today on a resolution. This measure aims to cancel the national emergency Trump declared April 2nd, which he used to enact global tariffs. The White House is threatening to veto the resolution, saying it would undermine national and economic security. Loved ones are saying goodbye to Chicago Fire Chief David Meyer. Family and friends spoke during his funeral yesterday in suburban Niles. Meyer died last week after responding to a fire on the west side. Charles Green is charged with first-degree murder and aggravated arson after being accused of setting the blaze. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Agrees with the president's actions on his alma mater.
I approve and applaud the Trump administration's decision to go high and hard at Harvard University as a means of setting a minimum requirement that universities and colleges comply with the Constitution of the United States and the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Maha starts with Virago, making America healthy again. With the worst flu season in years, you need an immune system boost. The stronger your immune system, the stronger your body fights and defends against So get Virago. Virago Immune Enhancement Support is a unique blend of 23 nutraceuticals, ingredients that have been available as individual nutraceuticals, but now working in synergy to maximize their effects. Recommended by medical physicians, dentists, and other healthcare professionals, Virago is the nutraceutical cocktail for immune support. Developed to strengthen your immune system for quick response to immune challenges, for short and long-term immunity, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. It even protects your heart, kidneys, liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Order online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Quality ingredients for optimum health. Maha. Making America healthy again starts with Virago.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless. There is a better way. Pure Talk, my sponsor, my wireless company, has a better offer. A brand new free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan for $35 a month. You get unlimited talk, unlimited text, 15 gigs of data, all on America's most dependable 5G network. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword Pure Talk for your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans for Americans.
Not everyone who handles your personal information is as careful as you are, which might explain why there's a victim of identity theft every 5 seconds in the United States. Fortunately, there's LifeLock. LifeLock will monitor hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. And if your identity is stolen, a U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it guaranteed or your money back. Save 40% your first year with my name, Clay, as your promo code at LifeLock.com. LifeLock. For the threats you can't control, terms apply.
Active Liver is the easy way to get a daily detox to keep you healthy and feeling your best. Find Active Liver at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
From the Team Hawkbird Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 19 minutes. Outbound, about 16 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 34 minutes. Outbound, about 45 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 52 minutes. Outbound, about 35 minutes. This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscriptions ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for a 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio to get an extra 5% off. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
More clouds than sun. Won't be as warm today. A shower in spots. High today at 66. Rain, thunderstorm tonight, low 54. Shower and thunderstorm for tomorrow, the high 64. Clouds and showers Friday, the high at 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. As we've been discussing from the introduction of DOGE, this is beneficial on multiple levels. The obvious is the waste, fraud, and abuse that is being identified and hopefully will be defunded, part of this tax and spend package that is pending in Congress. Shrink the size of government, shrink the number of employees, pare down the bureaucracies, the deregulation enters the conversation. But the other thing that the DOGE is doing is focusing attention on a rolling basis on the things government is doing that I think it can be convincingly argued it shouldn't be doing, that we shouldn't be financing. Is this something that government should do? Yes or no? We don't just get sort of the annual report from Rand Paul or back in the day Tom Coburn, and we go through it for a week and all of these excesses, and then it dissipates into the ether. This is happening real time, and it continues, and the Trump administration is continuing to produce reports, thanks in large measure to the DOGE boys, and it's the beginning of a culture change. That's the exciting part of it for me. Another example, the Trump administration released a transparency report last week. And one of the programs identified in this transparency report is the Job Corps that is housed in the Labor Department. It's designed to train 16 to 24-year-olds to join the workforce. Teenage runaways, high school dropouts, 20-something ex-cons. They live in dormitories.
All right.
Receive their GEDs and vocational training.
Oh, I've got someone that could go there. All right.
A former colleague at NBC5?
No, I'll keep it close to the vest.
Okay.
All right, go on. I like this description so far.
Oh, yeah. You'll start to like it a lot less. It'll start to sound like the Chicago public school system, but actually on steroids. So if you like CPS and how it's organized and the costs imposed for the products produced, you're really going to love the Job Corps. The national cost per graduate was $188,000, with the average graduate staying 13 and a half months, a little over a year.
Ooh. Wasteful spending.
They end up, those who are placed, and it's a relatively small fraction, end up making on average a little under $17,000 a year. That's what we call a bad ROI. But of the more than 110 campuses, this is a $2 billion program.
What?
110 campuses, the 10 least efficient average a cost of $385,000 per graduate.
I
The
never
Job
knew this
Corps
program
has
existed.
The Job Corps, right, exactly. Well, this is the point, right? The Job Corps has only a 32% graduation rate.
Oh, boy.
Of about 30,000 enrollees in the 23-24 school, in scare quotes, year, 10,000 were expelled for misconduct. That's a third, for those of you who can't do math at grade level. 5,000 were booted for absconding. And 5,000 dropped out for other reasons. So $2 billion to provide GED coursework and vocational training to place 30,000 enrollees, and you lost 20,000 of them.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on the very same line. Well, that clearly we're not strong leaders or teachers in these programs.
Well, I mean, and there are other issues, too. I mean, do you have people that are serious about trying to get onto the straight and narrow and be self-sufficient and productive citizens? That's an issue, too. Just some examples. The Old Dominion Job Corps campus in Monroe, Virginia, 95 enrollees, 2023, cost of $137,000 each. 17 successfully completed the program out of 95. That was $764,000 per graduate.
Wait, just get them everybody their own life coach.
A decade of oversight by government auditors and news media has been on to the Job Corps, but nobody wanted to be bothered by it. It's only $2 billion, and there's a lot of people who have jobs. What we fund with so many of these government programs is the bureaucracy and the contractors. They make out. The supposed beneficiaries, not so much. The taxpayers, not at all. But that's with the key you have to understand. You're not funding American citizens to get them onto a better path or to some productive ends. You're funding federal largesse. You're funding the federal bureaucracy. That's the welfare state. But they need dependents to justify their phony baloney jobs and poor performance. A decade of oversight by government auditors and news media found the program attracts criminal. By the way, this is a Luke Rosiak report in Daily Wire. A decade of oversight by government auditors and news media has found that the program attracts criminals and that some staff look the other way to avoid expelling members, which would lead to lost revenue, which could jeopardize the program. Not exactly results-oriented in disposition. At the Gary campus in San Marcos, Texas, there were 633 disciplinary incidents among a little under 1,200 enrollees. About half. Campus in Cherokee, North Carolina had 205 infractions over 162 enrollees, so that's more than one infraction per person. The latest quarter of data, which can't be taken at face value because you understand they're inclined to cook the books. They're incentivized to do so. 72% of graduates were placed in jobs. But typically, Job Corps participants not capable of remaining employed for long. After exiting the program, fewer than half had a job a few months out and were still working at that job at the 1-year mark. So you're just funding a bureaucracy. I mean, I guess maybe if you get some people to get their GEDs and maybe a handful of people get onto the straight and narrow. But the point is this something that the federal government is ideally suited to do? The answer, of course, is no. And is this something the federal government should be funding? And the answer is no. Now, you want to provide support, like we've talked about with programs for parolees, like our friend John Ponder's Hope for Prisoners organization in Clark County, Nevada.
That's what I was leaning toward, but yes, okay.
Or the Woodson Center, where they've got people at the local level that work, one-on-one with people that, and, through a vetting process and so on and so forth, with people that are trying to make their way in life in a productive direction and have demonstrate a record of success. Okay. It's sort of like the Department of Education. I mean, if we're going to indulge some of this spend, then at least drop ship it to the localities to provide spending power to the actual intended beneficiaries or organizations that have a proven record of producing for the intended beneficiaries. That's not so complicated, is it?
312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro answer line. I'm seeing a Job Corps, Paul Simon Job Corps Center on 3300 block of Kedzie. And then there's one in Joliet. And at their graduation ceremony, it looks like there's hardly anybody there.
Aptly named after Paul Simon. The bow tie. People think I'm boring because of the bow tie. That's my Al Franken doing Paul Simon.
Oh, okay. 3348 South Kedzie is where it's located.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going gangbusters. But, the other thing about programs like this is the left uses this as say, like, look how compassionate we are.
Oh, yeah.
We're trying to help, runaways and ex-cons and people who have had problems. And who doesn't want to help them? No, I want to help them. I'm happy to help anybody who wants to be helped to get onto, as I said, the straight and narrow. Is this the best way to do it? Clearly not. Could you come up with a worse way to do it? I doubt it. So why can't we have that conversation about there's all these organizations and probably a lot of individuals that actually did, a small percentage, but still a lot of individuals that did use this as a gateway to living a productive life. Why don't we enlist the successful people to say, how can we replicate what you have done or scale what you have done, as opposed to just funding bureaucracies, which is what we do. And this gets repeated over and over again at every level of government. Of course, in Illinois, with the most units of government of any state in the nation, we see this up and down the governmental power structure here. We've talked about it. I mean, this is the Illinois DOGE. We talked about at the outset of the show, One North Side, which is just a partisan advocacy group masquerading as a social service provider. There are just umpteen numbers of these sorts of organizations, and it really isn't that difficult to separate the wheat from the chaff if you have a little bit of a commonsensical look-see at it all. And that's what DOGE is doing, which is why, as I said, Elon Musk goes back and starts spending more time at Tesla, whatever. I hope, I know that I suspect the Trump administration is going to see the benefits of this and continue this in some form or fashion, and maybe even some of the idle members of Congress will want to pick this up and help the administration run with it beyond, the July. Steve in Oswego, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Thanks for taking the call. Two things I wanted to say. One is that Elon Musk may not only be the Thomas Edison of our day, he may also be the Elliot Ness. And I would argue that the people he's trying to take down are far more dangerous than Al Capone. Just look at what they've tried to do to Donald Trump. Point number two is, as we found with all these other corrupt programs, we got to follow the money. The important question is, who's the Democrat Socialist organization getting rich off all this? Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Steve. Yeah, well, that's just it. And boy, speaking of sort of the enterprising but lethargic, erstwhile wannabe reformer or counter-revolutionary at the state and local level. I mean, is there an opportunity, not just with the local newspapers that we've been citing that are doing these stories, Chicago City Wire, but is this not a target-rich environment in Illinois such that some enterprising members of the party out of power would want to start combing through the budget, legislators who understand who and what is getting funded, and start to raise the profile on some of these things? Would that be an opportunity to drive a different kind of discussion than just which Marxist is going to run for which office in 26? You know, I mean, Illinois is only hopeless when you don't seize the opportunities before you. I mean, these are really staring Republicans in Illinois in the face, these opportunities. And you've got a model that can be replicated at the local level. Don't you? Anyone? Bueller? Is any Republican with a pulse listening? Any synapses firing out there? You can't do this in state government? You can't do this in DuPage County, Lake County? Ron, Southside.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Dan, great book that Robert Lupton, Toxic Charities. And it goes into detail just about what you were talking about. And in the book, it said that are designed to help people and actually hurt people. But the biggest thing is the cost. So, if people want to, grab a book from the library, it's called Toxic Charity. And I'm sure it's quite a few of this, but just want to point that out. And like I said, and there are some good ones, and he points that out. We don't want to generalize, but when you look at the cost, all you want is outcome, and particularly with public money. Private money, you decide. Okay, this is where I should be donating my money. But government money, public, our money, taxpayers' money, it really need to be scrutinized. And we want some outcome. So you all have a wonderful day.
Thanks for the recommendation, Ron. Yeah, I mean, think about this. This is an analog to foreign aid. What have we understood? What have we come to understand about most foreign aid? Not all. Most. We want to do something humanitarian. So
or just buying our friends.
Well, not only that. So
we'll
we
give
drop
you this, but you're going to protect us.
We're going to provide support for AIDS prevention in Africa. We're going to provide food for starving people in Africa. Okay, worthy. But the way we do it often is to send the money to corrupt governments that never get to the people that we're intending to help, that are being advertised as these are the people we're going to help if we support funding this. But we do it in all the wrong way, and thus you don't get the desired result. Same thing happens domestically. Fran in Aurora.
Hi. In 1972, I actually was interviewing kids coming out of Job Corps through the Department of Employment Security with the state of Illinois. And in 1972 or 73, thereabouts, it was pretty well known that it was directionally a nice idea. But what was happening was you were transplanting the gangs from the community out to a Job Corps center, and not much was happening with them when they came out. I mean, a few of them got a GED. Placing them was very difficult. I actually had a kid one time, I'll never forget this, who, I said he'd been picked up for a charge of, I can't remember, but I said, don't you think it'd be a good idea for you to, get a job showing you're trying here? And he pulled out a wad of cash, the likes of which I'd never seen before, and said, no, I don't need no job.
No, I don't need no job.
Yeah.
Right.
Another successful Job Corps graduate.
He's got it covered. But there was one instance. It just was somebody had a good idea. But in 1972 and 73, if you knew it wasn't performed, the program wasn't working right, either you fixed the program or you did something else. But here we are at 2024, and
2025
the program limps along, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Fran. Great story. It's only taken 5 decades for this to get on the federal government, back on the federal government's radar. And how many examples of programs like this are replete throughout the federal government? Well, Elon Musk and the DOGE boys are going to be able to tell us before the end of this, hopefully. Greg in Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. Hey, first things first, with the taking the license plates off of the front of cars and not doing anything about it, I'm all for that. And I'm going to be hauling ass at every speed camera, when I'm coming towards them so that
but they'll get you from behind, though. They get you. You think you can avoid it, but you can't.
Well, not if you're going towards it. It shoots it, the one way. Anyways, Titans of CNC, TITANSOF-CNC. Here's a guy who spent, 8 years in prison or whatever, got his life together, started several businesses, left California, currently in Texas. He's got free program, learn how to basically machine code in aerospace, turning, milling operations. Everything's free. He works with companies around the world. There is nobody on planet Earth that does a better job of using social media to get the word out. He's been everywhere. He's got about 10,000 videos on YouTube. His numerous YouTube channels. It's amazing, and it's all for free. So if you go to Titans of CNC, you can sign up and learn the various aspects of machining, and there's tons of people who've done it, who started companies, small job shops, whatever, that currently have 15 machines. I mean, the guy is a bastion of success, and it's amazing. He's done it all on his own. He's got machines into prisons so that guys learn stuff before they come out. There's the success. This guy, Titan Gilroy, it's amazing compared to the useless morons in Washington, D.C.
There you go.
Great day.
Thanks for the call, Greg. Right. I mean, we should be sending him to Titans of CNC, those who want the doors of opportunity open. Send him to Mike Rowe and his foundation. I mean, the idea, if the government isn't doing this, then nobody's doing it. It's just because you don't get the profile when you're doing it quietly in a particular industry. There's no fanfare. You go after a bureaucracy, then you have entrenched interests that go out and sing protest songs in front of the Capitol and get D.C. press coverage. And, oh, my God, how can we eliminate the Job Corps? That's so heartless. No, actually, the way the Job Corps operates and the expense is what's heartless. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile. The Sagbridge Mission Society brings you a fun evening with Dr. Michael Foley, proclaimed author of the popular book anthology Dining with the Saints, The Sinner's Guide to a Righteous Feast. Drinking with Your Patron Saints, The Sinner's Guide to Honoring Namesakes and Protectors. And Drinking with the Saints, The Sinner's Guide to a Holy Happy Hour. Dr. Foley is a Catholic theologian, a professor at Baylor University, an author, a speaker, as well as a self-taught mixologist. He's authored more than a dozen books, articles, and poetry available where books are sold. Dr. Foley's talk is sponsored by the Sagbridge Mission Society and will take place Sunday, May 4th at 7 p.m. at Sag Hall, located at 10600 Archer Avenue in Lamont, Illinois, near the corner of Route 83 and Archer Avenue. There is no charge for admission, but seating is limited, so register now at SagbridgeMissionSociety.org. That's SagbridgeMissionSociety.org.
It's your life, your legacy. Shouldn't it be your choice? For nearly 2 centuries, Catholic Cemetery Chicago has been a haven for families, offering sacred spaces to honor these legacies. Take an active role by pre-planning your final arrangements. Alleviate your loved ones a future financial burden. Lock in today's prices and take advantage of no interest payments and no hidden fees. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, I'm so excited.
Negative number on GDP. That's not exciting.
No.
Down 3%, down 0.3%, 0.3%. But you see him on Fox News all the time. Joe Concha at 8:08.
It's 8 o'clock, WIND Chicago.
The economy has slowed down. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That is a new report just out this morning showing the economy did not grow at all in the first 3 months of the year.
We're getting the GDP in for the first quarter, and it is a contraction, negative 0.3%. This is the first contraction since the first quarter of 2022.
Fox Business Network's Maria Bartiromo, concerned about the economy, has dragged down President Trump's job approval poll numbers, but he insists things are getting better.
We're ending the inflation nightmare, the worst that we've had probably in the history of our country.
That was at a Trump rally in Michigan, touting what he calls the most successful first 100 days for any president ever.
We're for common sense. We like strong borders. We like good education. We like low interest rates. We like being able to buy a beautiful car.
And the president said his tariffs will lead to more manufacturing in Detroit, though he is easing some of the tariffs on U.S. automakers about worry on higher prices. And after a cabinet meeting this morning, the president will host business leaders at the White House as he pushes for new investments in the U.S. But President Trump tells ABC News his biggest achievement so far is a more secure border.
Because our country was really going bad. They were allowing people to come in from prisons.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection says encounters with people crossing illegally are down 95% and to levels not seen since the 1960s. The government reports removing 65,000 illegal immigrants out of the country and that the vast majority of those that they have arrested had people with criminal records.
Fox's Mark Meredith at the White House. Democrats spoke all night in the Senate, calling the first 100 days of the second Trump term a disaster. Here's Senator Richard Blumenthal.
The turmoil and turbulence has produced confusion and, yes, anxiety.
As Russia keeps bombing Ukraine, saying it'll take more time to work out a peace deal. Ukrainian officials say they may sign an agreement with the U.S. today, giving the Americans access to lucrative rare minerals, which may lead to more American support for the war in Ukraine. America.
Good morning. It's 48 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560. The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says he believes Republicans will stick together to pass his so-called Big Beautiful Spending Bill.
Speaking to troops at the Selfridge Air National Guard base in Michigan, north of Detroit, Trump said it will be the biggest tax cut in U.S. history if it's passed.
For decades, Selfridge Air National Guard base has stood as a crucial pillar of North American air defense, just 20 miles north of Detroit.
If not, he warned it will be the biggest tax hike. He was joined by Michigan Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer and congratulated her efforts to keep the base open and operational. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
Loved ones are saying goodbye to Chicago Fire Captain David Meyer. His daughter spoke during his funeral yesterday.
My dad wasn't just physically present in our lives. He showed us his love throughout all the thoughtful gestures that made each moment feel special.
The veteran firefighter died last week after responding to a fire on the west side. Charles Green is charged with first-degree murder and aggravated arson after being accused of setting the blaze. The city of Chicago is joining a nationwide coalition in a lawsuit challenging the firing of federal employees by the Trump administration. The suit argues the president doesn't have the authority to dismantle, downsize, or otherwise transform federal agencies without congressional approval. The complaint seeks a court's intervention to stop the firings. Mayor Johnson says he's proud that Chicago's taking a stand in this matter, adding that Trump's plan to gut the federal government threatens our way of life and impacts their ability to keep residents and communities safe and healthy. News is a service of Fox Valley Coins. Bring your gold or silver in store today. Each is priced right in front of you. The coins never leave your sight. Receive cash or a check right on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. A check of the road's coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Yum Brands, parent of KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut, is reporting better earnings than forecast. Taco Bell's sales were up 9%. However, Yum Brands shares are down a fraction. Caterpillar shares up 1%. Its earnings were weaker than expected. The company is facing increased costs because of tariffs, though it provided 2 scenarios for its business. Shares of Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings are down nearly 10%. The cruise company's earnings were disappointing, though it's standing by its forecast for the year. Super Microcomputer shares down 16%. It makes servers for artificial intelligence. It's predicting earnings far below what Wall Street was expecting. Santander reporting an upbeat quarter, helped by U.S. demand for loans completed online. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jimmy Cosola, invested in you.
Charlie Kirk says the time has come.
Harvard University has a $50 billion endowment. They have a tax-exempt status. They get money for research grants. Why is it, as a country which is $35 trillion in debt, we continue to finance universities that hate us? Has Harvard just become a Democrat think tank? And if they are, why are they taxpayer-funded entity?
The Charlie Kirk Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
People ask us all the time, when's the best time to replace an old air conditioner? Simple. Before it breaks. Because when it does, you know it'll be the hottest day of the year, and suddenly you're scrambling like hundreds of others to get help during a heat wave. At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we've seen it all. We know there's never a good time to be without AC, especially in Chicagoland, where the humidity can make 80 degrees feel like 100. At Air Right, our experienced technicians don't just work fast, they'll do it right. Browse through our more than 1,500 5-star Google reviews to see what our loyal customers love most about us. If it's been a while since your system was inspected, don't wait for a heat wave before having it checked out. And right now, AM 560 listeners receive $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right, doing it right since 1959.
Johns Hopkins University has found that just mild hearing loss doubles your risk of dementia, so hearing loss isn't something to ignore.
But hearing aids are so expensive and ugly.
Not anymore. Meet Audien Hearing. You can get nearly invisible hearing aids without a prescription starting at $98 a pair, and they're ready to use right out of the box. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, and with over 1 million customers, Audien is easy to trust. Visit audienhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
He's coming. Here he goes. Surprise! Your table saw broke. Also, the warranty expired weeks ago, so you need to pay for a new one out of pocket.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Oh, and the replacement part you ordered doesn't fit, so it's completely useless. What a waste.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
So, what'd you call me over here to see, buddy?
Well, wait till you see the new set of wheels
Whoa! Would you look at this garage floor? Wow, buddy, is this a new coating?
Well, yeah, but...
It's so smooth and shiny. It looks like a showroom in here. Wow, looks easy to keep nice and clean, too.
Yeah, it is, but...
Man, I've been thinking about getting a new coating. This is a sweet-looking garage floor.
You happen to notice my new Corvette?
Oh, huh. That's cool, too.
Level 10 Coatings, Chicagoland's premier concrete coatings company. We can improve the look of your garage, basement, office, or outdoor space with customized concrete coating solutions. As Chicagoland's only certified Cimarron installer, we're setting industry standards. Level 10 Coatings uses polyurea and polyaspartic coating, which is stronger than epoxy. Turn your ugly garage floor into a showroom floor this spring. Mention Amy Jacobson to receive $500 off any new project. Visit level10coatings.com to schedule today, or call 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
Hi, Amy Jacobson here. With the crime we're seeing in Illinois, I know how important it is to keep my home and my family safe. That's why I chose Goldilocks for my home security. One of their awesome technicians just came over and gave me a free assessment of my home. They found vulnerabilities that intruders typically look for and created a personalized plan for me. Goldilocks offers state-of-the-art smart home security systems with HD cameras, motion detectors, smart locks, mobile notifications. As you know, crime in Illinois is out of control, and I'll sleep easier knowing that Goldilocks has my back. They even offer commercial security systems for any size business. Tell them Amy Jacobson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months of monitoring for free with any new install. Call Goldilocks today at 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com. That's GoldilocksInc.com.
From the Team Hartford Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 20 minutes. Outbound, 23 minutes. On the inbound side of the Kennedy from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 44 minutes. Outbound, 36 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 55 minutes. Outbound, 43 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 49 minutes. Outbound, it's going to be about 30 minutes. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. To see if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
More clouds and sun, not as warm. A shower in spots late this afternoon, high 66. Cloudy with occasional rain, thunderstorm for the night, low at 54. Cloudy with a shower and thunderstorm for tomorrow, high tomorrow at 64. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. There's nothing quite as enjoyable as watching or hearing from a leftist who has been mugged by the reality of the left. What you're about to hear in terms of this guy's lament about the left, to which he previously identified, is one of the reasons I think Trump was successful in 2024. And it's one of the messages that the left still is not fully internalizing. So this guy moved from Pittsburgh to Portland because he thought it'd be weird in a fun way.
He loves liberals, yes.
But it's not. No. It's not weird in a fun way.
Alrighty, y'all. I moved to Portland, Oregon about 4 years ago from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Before I left Pittsburgh, I considered myself pretty far left, and then COVID happened, and then I moved to Portland and saw what far left really looked like, and I feel like the left has lost all common sense at this point. But all that being said, being in Portland, I truly feel like I'm in a twilight zone every day. It really exposes how ugly the far left can really be, because it's what I'm surrounded by on a daily basis. They're totally fine with walking past homeless people that are intense, that are having mental breakdowns right in the middle of the street, and acting like, oh, that's normal. This happens in every city. I just happen to walk by it every day to go get my latte. No big deal. And it's dude, I thought the left was supposed to be empathetic. I thought the left cared about the environment, because if you look at what the homeless population out here alone just does to the environment, is pretty insane. But all that being said, I feel like all the morals have went out the window. All the things that y'all truly fought for went out the window. Now it's all about protesting Tesla, hating Trump, and fighting for men to have babies or something. It's literally crazy out here. And I know I should have known this moving out here, but I really thought we'd have some common ground, considering I used to be one of you. But if anything, it just turns me further to the right, seeing how people act out here, seeing the point of privilege everybody has too. It's literally insane. If you don't believe what they believe, then you're a piece of it's just a total la la land. And it's crazy to me that it's been normalized. And I think Portland is a perfect example of why things shouldn't be far left, and why we need to kind of come back to common ground somewhere. So you can me all you want, but I'm right, and there's plenty of people that think the same way as me. And Portland's just becoming a hub of mental illness and a place for people to go to just be weird. And it's not the good kind of weird. It's the type of weird that needs medical attention. Let's talk about it.
The type of weird that needs medical attention. That's the kind of voter I think Kamala lost in November. For more commentary on this, because he's written a book about it, Joe Concha joins us, Fox News contributor and media and political columnist. He's the author of the new book, The Greatest Comeback Ever, Inside Trump's Big, Beautiful Campaign, which was released yesterday, so it's available for purchase now. Joe, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. How's it going?
Good. Is that part of the explanation for what came to pass last campaign?
It's a big part of that explanation. It's amazing how Democrats are finding a way to be on the side of every 80-20 issue when they're on the 20 side. I just do not understand. It's not even about conservative or liberal. It's about, I don't know, common sense. And when you hear the sound bites like you just heard, I can't even believe, even in the most liberal of cities, that common sense people say, no, this sounds okay to me, actually. It sounds okay also if we allow women to compete against men in sports where they could get hurt or even killed. It makes total sense to me to have an open border. It makes total sense to me to spend money that we don't have and drive inflation above 9%. I just, in the name of common sense, and there used to be some common sense Democrats out there, John F. Kennedy or Bill Clinton, in terms of the way they governed, those people don't exist anymore. And I just don't understand why they keep doing this when they're not going to win any elections anytime soon if they do.
Well, the Democratic Party, I mean, they lack an authentic candidate. Are they looking for someone more masculine? Because the Democrats, attempted 2 female candidates for president, both failed.
Well, that's a good point. I don't know if the feminine part had anything to do with it, because Tim Walz was a vice presidential candidate, and he didn't exactly come across as an alpha male, right?
No.
I think it all comes down to authenticity, quite frankly. I think there absolutely could be a Democrat on the female side that could win if they could find that person. The problem is it seems like they want to manufacture these candidates, right? In other words, the elites chose Hillary Clinton to be their candidate in 2016. The elites wanted Joe Biden when they cleared all the whole party out to make sure that he won Super Tuesday. And the elites wanted Kamala Harris as well. And you see that more billionaires now are donating to the Democratic Party than Republicans. They used to be seen as the party of the rich. Now Democrats are the party of the richest 1%. So, yeah, I think it's just authenticity. Find somebody who just doesn't seem like they're saying things just to get elected, and maybe you'll have a shot. Andy Beshear in Kentucky, I think, is a pretty good example of who that person could be, perhaps. He's at nearly 70% approval in a red state. So if they go moderate, Beshear could win. The problem is that AOC and Bernie are getting all the attention for the fighting the oligarchy tour. And if they go in that direction, then they're in big trouble.
Yeah, and I mean, our governor, J.B. Pritzker, he's not really one. He tries to do, generally speaking, the Dick Durbin approach, which is to say unreasonable things, but in a reasonable tone of voice that sounds moderate. But his speech in New Hampshire over the weekend that we've been discussing indicates that he believes the political incentives are, because obviously he's an aspirant in 2028, he believes the political incentive is to be the most outlandish, the most reckless critic of Trump and Republicans, because that's what is rewarded within his party.
It's a great point. If you say the most provocative things, what I've learned about being, I cover media for the most part, in addition to politics. Obviously, the book, The Greatest Comeback Ever, is more of a political book than anything, but we do a lot of media criticism. The more outlandish you are, the more that gets attention from the media, the more bookings that you get. And J.B. Pritzker has a female counterpart, a soulmate, we'll call it, in Jasmine Crockett, right? She says things like, oh, there is Governor Hot Wheels, and mocks a governor who is paralyzed in a wheelchair. I mean, and does that for a laugh line. And then MSNBC and CNN, they can't put her on the air enough. And the same thing with Pritzker, same thing with AOC, same thing with the guys like Eric Swalwell, who says some totally outlandish things. So the moderates have a problem, because if they just speak normally in terms of policy, in terms of common sense, that doesn't get you on TV very often. But
I've coined...
Pritzker does and Crockett does, well, boy, you're a big star.
I've coined a ticket for 2028, and feel free to use it. No attribution necessary. Pritzker and Crockett, Tubbs and Crockett. What do you think?
Yeah, it's Miami Vice.
Yeah, yeah.
That show was popular, and those guys seem normal.
Yeah, right. Just going back to your book, The Greatest Comeback, the strategic mistakes that you go through in the book that you believe Kamala Harris made.
Oh, boy. The first one was the 2-inch putt, which was not choosing Josh Shapiro,
Right.
60% approval
Yep.
in a purple state that she had to win or else she's not winning the election. And she's like, I don't really want to lose that anti-Semitic part of the party that may be voting, or those Dearborn, Michigan voters, Muslims. So I better not choose the Jewish guy. And she went with goofy 80s sitcom dad Tim Walz instead. And, who I can't think of a worse person you could have chosen in this moment, especially after what we learned in terms of I held weapons of war, except he didn't go to a war zone. He ditched his own unit. Oh, I was in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square massacre. No, you were in a cornfield in Nebraska. Oh, I really like putting tampon machines in elementary school boys' rooms. I mean, I could go on and on. Let Minneapolis burn to the ground. Horrible in interviews. Worse than that debate with J.D. Vance. So that was one big strategic mistake. Not going to the Al Smith dinner, considering the Catholic vote that she absolutely needed as well, and sending a video instead. What are you doing? Not going on Joe Rogan when she should have. I could go on and on, but boy, I can't think of one thing that campaign did right to win this election. And the result was Trump was the popular vote in every state.
Joe, she said she lost because she didn't have enough time to campaign.
or people in the media say it's because of misogyny and racism, which is interesting because she didn't get the nomination in 2020 when she ran for president. Didn't even get to 2020.
She
so
dropped out after Iowa.
Felt the same way. Yeah, no, not even after. She didn't even get to Iowa.
Right.
That's the amazing thing.
It'll be interesting to see how they respond to Mark Carney's victory in Canada. I'm talking about the left. There's a pretty good piece over at the Liberal Patriot by John Halpin, and this is a community of Democrats, but they do pretty good analytical work, and they're trying to get their party to be better and more successful, and nobody's really listening to them. But nonetheless, Halpin notes in his piece that, Carney reoriented the left away from Trudeau, number one, but also away from Trudeau's approach. He didn't focus on all of the cultural issues that are part of that party's platform in Canada, just like they are here. But instead, it was nationalism and pro-growth economic models. I mean, again, even if you say, well, that was disingenuous and he's a central planner and those things are true, but just in terms of the campaign, the pivot that he made from Trudeau, that was, I think, aided a little bit by Trump and the antagonism with Canada. It'll be interesting to see if they try to adopt some of the lessons from Carney, or if they continue basically behaving more like Trudeau.
Wow, that's excellent analysis, and it's true. I think in the end, I think the Democratic Party watches a lot of MSNBC and they watch a lot of CNN, and they're taking their cues from there. And if you're doing that, that's not a good idea, because basically they have more employees than viewers at this point. And I know I'm a Fox News contributor, and they're supposed to be the competition, but I don't really view it that way when we're getting quadruple the audience that they are in most time slots. But yeah, I think in the end, they need a leader. They need someone to say, this is the direction that we're going in. Because right now, everybody's acting in silos. And they're doing what's best for them to get them the most attention, to get them the most fundraising. And that's not a good thing. I just don't know who that leader is right now. We may not know until 2027 when they finally, kind of coalesce around a nominee. And until that happens, it's just going to be a lot of awkward, cringy internet videos and basically operating on their own. But yeah, a leader is needed. And I just can't tell you who that is right now.
Now, in your book, you mentioned Trump on that July day in Butler, Pennsylvania. How did the Secret Service still allow Trump to go on stage when they knew there was an active threat?
Thank you. That's the biggest question of this campaign. I bring up 10 questions, actually, from that assassination attempt, including how does a 20-year-old kid outflank the entire Secret Service and local law enforcement and hides a high-powered rifle behind an air conditioner at a building that has the one line of sight to Donald Trump? How do you not secure that one building? And then, to your point, after that building isn't secured, who exactly said, I know there's a threat out there, not Mr. President, but at the time, Mr. Trump, but go ahead, go out there anyway. Who allowed that? And the fact that no one got fired from the Secret Service to this day is one of the biggest questions, just like how did a Ryan Ruth in the second assassination attempt be able to sit outside the sixth hole at Trump International, where I was last week? How did no one walk the perimeter and allow this guy to build a sniper's nest and sit there for more than 12 hours? Not one person walked the course? I mean, that's what I mean. I'm well past incompetence, and I'm to who wanted Donald Trump dead within the Secret Service? Like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if you allow him to walk onto that stage, somebody wanted to make sure he never left it, and he probably wouldn't have if he didn't turn his head the way he did during the way he did at Butler to read a chart that he's never read before. But that's in the book, certainly. And I talked to the president about that, by the way, if I could just go on for 30 more seconds. And I asked him, I said, what made you, when you know you've been hit, in the ear, you have blood on your face, what made you want to stand up and say, fight, 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 when there could have been a second shooter out there? Like, how could you trust anything at that point? And he said, I know my family was watching. I know my youngest son, Barron, was watching. I know my wife was watching. I know the country was watching, and I want to make sure they knew I was okay and that nothing was going to stop this movement. I'm like, wow, because I would have been like, get me off here. I'm keeping my head down. Get me in a car. In that moment, the fact that he was thinking about those things instead of just, I've been hit, get me out of here, I think that was very telling. And my interview with the president is a big part of the book as well.
Oh, very interesting. We're 100 days in. He was rallying the faithful in Michigan. Is there anything that you see that you think that Trump needs to pivot a bit, either politically or from a policy perspective?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I look at immigration, particularly the border, and definitely don't pivot from that because we're down 99% in terms of border crossings. I think there's more people in this interview right now than the number of people who have crossed the border yesterday, probably. So that's been going fine. I keep hearing about how he has to pay more attention to inflation, but then I look at the inflation number. In March, it fell to 2.4%. That's pretty good when you consider that it was above 9% under Joe Biden at one point and averaged over 6%. So I think inflation's going fine. The tariffs is a long game. So in the short term, things look chaotic. But again, the NASDAQ, for example, in April is higher than it was on Election Day, and the Dow is getting pretty close as well. So that's stabilized. So I'm trying to look. I try to be as objective as I can, and just because I wrote a book about Donald Trump and the greatest comeback doesn't mean I can't be critical of him. At this point, though, when I look at the economy, when I look at inflation, I see gas prices down, at least nationally, down to about $3.15, where it was above $4 under Biden. I see egg prices way down, for example. That was a big thing for a while. It seems like things are going quite well. The media coverage is the opposite of that. We saw 92% negative coverage of Donald Trump over the first 100 days, according to the Media Research Center. So in terms of pivot, I think things are going quite well, guys, to be quite honest with you. And we're only 3 months into a presidency that has 45 months left. So long term, let's see where we're at in the next 100 days. I think that's huge as far as passing that big, beautiful bill, as the president calls it, and the tax cuts that go along with it. But for now, I think things have been going quite well. And I think he should just stay the course because Donald Trump's not going to pivot anyway because that's not what he does. He's going to do exactly what he wants to do, and there seems to be a confidence around it.
Joe Concha is a Fox News contributor, of course, media and political columnist as well. The new book, The Greatest Comeback Ever, Inside Trump's Big, Beautiful Campaign, which is available for purchase now. The Greatest Comeback Ever. Joe Concha. Joe, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Come on with this, people. Move it!
Did you really think you could make that company deliver yourself?
Oh, I cannot handle any more traffic.
You could be getting much more done at your place of business.
I've wasted 45 minutes and now this place is gonna close.
Time is money. Let Quick Delivery Service take on the traffic hassle for you. They'll deliver almost anything, from large pallets of materials to important documents, or both. No forms, no labels, no scanning. Just tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going. They'll pick it up and get it to your destination quickly. Your cargo delivery is tracked in real time with GPS. Notifications are delivered right to your inbox. Visit quickdelivery.com. That's quickdelivery.com. Or you can deliver like this.
Seriously, another train?
Or get your delivery there on time with quickdelivery.com. Or call 847-534-2244. 847-534-2244.
Oh, they've been around for 8 years for a reason. Hi, Amy Jacobson here. And if you have pain in your shoulder, your knees, your hip, your back, don't live like that. And you don't have to have surgery. And you don't have to become addicted to drugs or take vacation time to have a surgery that may or may not work. I am talking about regenerative cell therapy to restore tissue in those achy joints. It's called QC Kinetics. And these are biologic growth factors with robust healing properties. They carefully and strategically place your own blood cells into your joints. It's a powerful and potent way to give your joints new life and repair old tissue. Best part, there are no drugs, no surgery, as I mentioned, and no downtime. Folks, it's an all-natural option with lasting results. Imagine doing all the things you enjoyed this summer without joint pain. Summer's right around the corner. So here's what you do. Don't waste any more time. Contact my friends at QC Kinetics and ask for your free consultation. You have nothing to lose. Saturday appointments available. The number to call is 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. We've heard a lot about how Donald Trump is causing a constitutional crisis. But Joe Biden's open borders is what created the perfect storm for a real crisis, a crisis of legitimacy for our government's judicial branch. Here's why. During the Biden years, 7 million illegal immigrants streamed into the United States. Now people want them deported, but it requires no due process to enter our country illegally. It does require due process of some kind to deport illegal immigrants. For regular Americans, it's difficult to understand why migrants can't be removed as fast as they came. And if judges act in ways that lead reasonable people to question their impartiality, like the judge found harboring an illegal migrant in his home, the reputation of the entire judiciary will crater quickly. That will create a real crisis, but one of the judiciary's own making.
The fight against abortion in Illinois has never been more important than it is right now. Thanks to our elected officials, Illinois has become an abortion tourism destination. The number of abortions in our state continues to grow, despite the fact that crisis pregnancy centers outnumber abortion clinics almost 3-1. Now, thanks to a new effort by Caring Network, it's possible to reach abortion-minded women, to provide peace of mind and security to help them choose life. This new Reach Her First initiative seeks to provide women with the assurance and information they need before they choose an abortion. But Caring Network needs your help to reach women who are considering abortion. For a one-time gift of just $150, you can help reach 5 women and help them choose life. That's all it takes to prevent an abortion. To make that gift, just go to 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring.
AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, did you have fun at your birthday party? I heard they brought you out a cake and candles and sang happy birthday.
At well, they did at Old Florida. They brought me a Jello shot with a candle and
a Jello shot.
Yeah, well, you know, it was sort of
what are we in the 80s?
Impromptu, but and this guy Chris, who's on staff there, who tried out for American Idol.
Oh.
He's got real pipes, saying happy birthday to me, which was nice.
Oh,
and then
do you have any video of that?
Later we went to Shula's with a different cohort.
Oh, so you had 2 parties, not one.
Yeah.
Congratulations, big shooter. Well, you look very happy. I tweeted out the picture in case anybody wants to see.
You know what we forgot to get to though yesterday, because we were so wrapped up in my birthday. Well, you were. The 42nd anniversary of the Lee Elia rant about Cubs fans.
Oh.
April 29th, 1983, the Lee Elia rant about Cubs fans, and we didn't get to it yesterday. Maybe if we have time after Carol Roth, we'll get to it.
Yes.
Carol Roth joins us at 8:38 to discuss, GDP contraction in Q1. That's no good, as well as the Scott Bessent briefing on trade yesterday, 8:38.
But now we have to go into the newsroom once again. Here's Nikki Whaley.
It's 48 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The U.S. is prosecuting illegals who enter the country through the newly created military zone along the southern border in New Mexico. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth recorded a video in the zone last week and called it a national defense area. He said any illegal attempting to enter that zone is entering a military base.
This may as well be a military base inside the United States of America. Newly announced, newly formed.
Court filings submitted Monday show that the Department of Justice is charging at least 28 people with violations of security regulations for entering the zone. The charge is a misdemeanor but could result in a year in prison. Mayor Johnson will be in Springfield today to press state lawmakers for more state funding for Chicago. Johnson set to meet with Senate President Don Harmon, House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch, and Governor Pritzker. The mayor's trip downstate comes as the city is facing a projected budget deficit next year of more than $1 billion. News is a service of Quick Delivery Service. Make Quick Delivery Service your personal ground crew. Anytime, anywhere, any place. When you need to move your shipment or freight, Quick Delivery will get it there. Get a quote in advance and eliminate any surprises at quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless. That comes with a lot of fine print, plus. Oh, in other words, you pay more. At the end of the day, you paid for that, quote, free phone 3 times over. There is a better way. Pure Talk, my cell phone provider, a veteran-owned company, my sponsor, my wireless company, has a much better offer. A free phone with a qualifying plan for just $35 a month, and you get a brand new Samsung Galaxy A26. Just make the switch to Pure Talk for $35 a month. You get unlimited talk, unlimited text, 15 gigs of data with mobile hotspot and roaming, all on America's most dependable 5G network. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword Pure Talk, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will help you make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. Again, just dial pound 250, say the keyword Pure Talk for your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan when you make the switch to Pure Talk. Wireless by Americans for Americans.
This Mother's Day, treat the mom in your life to a day she'll never forget with brunch at the Trump International Hotel and Tower, Chicago. Brunch reservations are available now for Sunday, May 11th, with seatings from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the Grand Ballroom. Experience an exquisite meal in a buffet style. Feast at the decadent carving, seafood, and dessert stations. Enjoy drink specials, live entertainment, complimentary champagne, and a beautiful rose garden backdrop for memorable photos. There's no better place to celebrate this Mother's Day than as guests of Trump Chicago, where you'll find the most iconic views of the Chicago skyline. Delight in this one-of-a-kind extravaganza. Make your reservations today by visiting eventbrite.com and search Mother's Day Brunch, Trump Chicago. That's Eventbrite. Search Mother's Day Brunch, Trump Chicago, and order your tickets today. Cheers.
You heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
Healthcare is complicated. It doesn't have to be. If you don't love how your health insurance works, maybe it's time to leave traditional health insurance behind. Take charge of your healthcare with Christian Healthcare Ministries. CHM offers you flexibility. Enroll anytime, choose your own provider, and select the program that fits your needs and budget. CHM is the original faith-based way of taking care of your medical bill costs. Learn more at chministries.org/wellness.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman. Listen Saturday mornings at 8. Learn more at willsave.com.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 19 minutes, 22 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 50 minutes. Outbound, it's about 35 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 65 minutes. Outbound, about 43 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, about 45 minutes. This report is sponsored by Macy's Backstage. What will you find at Macy's Backstage? How about fun Mother's Day gifts, all for under $15? Get low prices every day on unique finds before they're gone. In-store only at Macy's Backstage today. Find a location near you at macy'sbackstage.com. Off price, on trend, arriving daily. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
More clouds than sun. Won't be as warm today. A shower in spots. High today at 66. Rain, thunderstorm tonight, low 54. Shower and thunderstorm for tomorrow, the high 64. Clouds and showers Friday, the high at 66. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Press briefings the last few days. Tom Homan first on border. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, of course, on trade deals. It's good, the sort of the principal initiatives of the administration. Let's hear from some of the best spokesmen and the people that are writing point on so much of the policy making and implementation of said. Bessent yesterday taking questions from the press and offering updates on what he believes the progress is with some of our key trading partners, not China so much, but others, including India and Japan, saying this.
Vice President Vance was in India last week. I think that he and Modi made some very good progress, so I could see some announcements on India. I could see the contours of a deal with the Republic of Korea coming together, and then we've had substantial talks with the Japanese.
And he was a follow-up to that was: are you worried about summer elections in places like Korea and Japan that could artificially push off trade talks and the possibility of deals for months? And he said this.
I would actually take the opposite tack, that I think from our talks that these governments actually want to have the framework of a trade deal done before they go into elections to show that they have successfully negotiated with the United States. So we are finding that they are actually much more keen to come to the table, get this done, and then go home and campaign on it.
That makes sense. It's a good response, and it makes sense, too, which is always helpful in a response. He also made this point about some of the other key trading partners, like, for example, the EU, that some things need to be worked out internally among EU countries before we can finalize a deal externally, which also seems judicious.
We're negotiating with a lot of different interests. Some of the European countries have put on an unfair digital service tax on our big internet provider. France and Italy, other countries, Germany and Poland, don't have that. So we want to see that unfair tax of one of America's great industries removed. So it's going to be a give and take. So they have some internal matters to decide before they can engage in an external negotiation.
Bessent's done a good job of being the market whisperer, calming some of the jitters on Wall Street, but that will only take you so far. Some finalization of some of these deals needs to happen post-haste, I would suspect, and particularly against the backdrop of the GDP number out for Q1 out this morning, which was negative growth. That's not where you want to be. I know the argument is going to be it's a temporary before we get the springboard of trade deals, not to mention tax relief and spending reductions, but negative growth is negative growth. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Carol Roth. She's an entrepreneur, of course, author of You Will Own Nothing, Your War with a New Financial World Order and How to Fight Back. She also has a free economic newsletter that's very good. You can sign up for it, carolroth.com/news. Carol, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great to be back with you guys.
So where are you in terms of reaction to Bessent's briefing yesterday and the context of the GDP number this morning?
Well, let me start with GDP this morning. And the GDP was dragged down substantially by the front-running of the tariffs and a massive amount of imports. So if you were to back that out, it's the most in history. So if you were to back out that front running, even though we had good news and less government spending, you would have had an up quarter. So I think that is a positive scenario. We can normalize that number. However, we're not going to be able to get that kind of grace and normalization next quarter. So I think it's really dependent on what happens in terms of the fallout from the length of the tariff policy and the negotiation. If it continues to go on and you end up having a down quarter because of actual retraction of growth, not sort of a one-time external factor, that's going to be a big issue. And that's always been my concern, is that so much of the tariff policy, instead of being done surgically and focused on certain industries, or really focused on the companies that were abroad and not the U.S. companies that have foreign components of their supply chain, if that ends up dragging down the GDP, then there's going to be no argument that it will be a technical recession, even though under Biden they tried to change the definition of a technical recession, and everyone will have swapped positions on that.
Right.
Well, how much do you trust the government reported GDP data? I mean, given recent concerns about methodology and revisions and all of that.
So this is the first print of 3. They take 3 different measures. So we're going to hear 2 more times about what they think the GDP is, Amy, until we actually get a final reading for the third quarter. But the fact that, absent the tariff front running, that you would have had some moderate amount of growth, I think tracks both to, whatever garbage data we do have, as well as to sort of, kind of what we can see anecdotally happening. And I really think it's, what happens this quarter that's the most important to determine, is this going to be a successful economic presidency? Because listen, Trump was handed a really tough deck of cards by the Biden administration and was going to have a tough path anyway. There was a recession possibility without them doing anything. And then the policies that they have kind of led with really have accelerated that.
You had a piece over at foxnews.com that I thought was a good insight. If the trade policy is all about being Main Street's turn, I should say, then the president and his economic team should be out there meeting with the NFIB members of the world.
Absolutely. We've heard many times from both Trump and Scott Bessent that this is going to be a Main Street first administration. It is a really smart focus because obviously the middle and working class have been left behind by the Democrats. And the leaders of Main Street, when you think of Main Street, are small businesses. And there's 35 million small businesses in this country. So it's a huge constituency that supported President Trump. The challenge is, as you guys know, small businesses have been beat up massively for the last 5 years, starting with COVID mandates, all of the fallout from that, and then Bidenflation. So, in a normal period of time, they would not have the same kind of runway a publicly traded company has. After 5 years, they're just hanging on by a thread. They need things to go in the opposite direction. So having a scenario where you are exempting some of the smartphone makers and chip makers and computer makers and tech that have tens of billions of dollars on their balance sheet, now we're hearing some of the automakers may get an exemption. It's time for small businesses to be at that table and to talk to the president and hopefully have some policies in place. Next week's National Small Business Week would be a really great week to do an exemption for small business owners while still holding the feet to the fire of all of those overseas companies that sell direct to consumers in the United States.
Well, what about even a larger confab than that? What about, since at least it's my contention that sort of this Wall Street versus Main Street is a false dichotomy. Thinking about small businesses who are first, second, third suppliers to the auto industry, for example. What about getting Wall Street and Main Street together for that conversation?
I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense, as long as they are in the room. And I think that's the challenge, is we often hear that, Trump on the retail side met with Walmart and Amazon or not Amazon, Target and Home Depot and Lowe's. They've met with, a whole bunch of different industries, and the small business owners just want to have a seat at the table, because every policy that it impacts these 20,000 big businesses, impacts the 35 million small businesses, but most of the time their perspective isn't taken into account. So I think it would be a really good step to continue to have advocates, whether it's individual advocates, whether it's some of the groups, you mentioned NFIB, which is great, the S Corporation Association and SBA or whatnot, as well as a representative sample of some small business owners, so we can make sure that when these policies are put in place, the small business perspective is heard and considered.
Speaking of Amazon, since you mentioned them, the administration said that Amazon's thought about breaking out import charges in terms of the cost of goods people buy on Amazon, they would consider that to be a hostile and political act. Well, it may be in part a political act, but I mean, like I'm all for price transparency. I wish we could get that at the pump, where you educate people just on how much taxes are a part of the cost per gallon of gas. Especially in a place like Illinois and Chicago. So what's wrong with transparency?
There's absolutely nothing wrong. It's funny that got walked back, more quickly than almost anything I've seen. That story was killed in about 3 hours with a Trump phone call to Bezos. But I like transparency. I want to see where extra fees and taxes are coming from. I do think it's funny that it was Amazon who was talking about being transparent, because they have a bunch of very non-transparent business practices, including allowing knockoffs, allowing a lot of AI slop. I know for my last book, there was somebody who came out with a quote-unquote companion work guide before my book even came out that was complete slop. So I think there are a lot of things that Amazon, if they want to be transparent, could clean up within their own business first, including, as many people said, hey, make it easier to find the products that are made in America, maybe with a search function. But listen, tariffs are a tax. They are paid by businesses or the consumers, and seeing that, I do think, would wake a lot of people up.
What's your sort of weighting in terms of importance of the Republicans in Congress getting a extension of the tax relief with the additional promises about overtime wages and tips, combined with real reductions, DOGE-infused reductions in spend, getting that done before the end of next month?
I mean, I think that it's critical. Do I have any faith that it's going to happen? No, because we're so mired in speaking about tariffs, but we have a hair-on-fire debt problem, which, as a percentage of debt to GDP and deficits to GDP with a contraction, now just became even worse. So this is the focus, and the Trump administration has some tricks up its sleeve to be able to buy us some time. But if we don't get Congress to buy in now with some real changes, and we don't rein them in over the long term, this is all going to be for naught. So unless we can find a way to get Congress to do their jobs, which seems to be the most impossible task on the planet, then we're just going to buy ourselves a couple of years, and we're going to be facing the same problem over and over again.
Should we be encouraged by the Chinese Communist Party decision to relax some tariffs on stuff that they're not they're not able to produce at the scale with the speed required to sustain their economy? I saw Xi relax tariffs on ethane the other day, as well as a number of other products.
Listen, I think that any news that moves things in a positive direction should be celebrated, but there is a serious time frame issue here in terms of, whose economy is going to be able to withstand this longer. It's going to be like a game of chicken, and I just feel like I don't want to be on the other end of the game of chicken. So I'd like to see it wrapped up here.
You call me crazy. I feel like I'm having COVID flashbacks, but I went and stockpiled some things yesterday at the grocery store because I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal about China to U.S. cargo shipments are dwindling, and the director at the port in Los Angeles said he expects a 35% drop in import volumes in the next 2 weeks.
No, this is absolutely true, and I've been calling this entire scenario COVID 2.0 because you have the people who last time around who said, hey, we know it's a bad thing for the government to shut down businesses for the quote-unquote common good are now the biggest cheerleaders to say, well, we don't care what happens to these businesses for the common good. We're seeing the same kinds of things with imports. We're going to see the same kind of impacts, the long tail effects with the supply chain and possibly the labor market. So we've seen this movie before. It's a sequel. It's slightly different. It's got a slightly new cast, but it's basically the same story, and we should have learned the lesson. And it doesn't mean that things don't need to be changed. It doesn't mean that we need to protect our national security in certain areas and bring shipbuilding and defense manufacturing and pharmaceutical supply chains here to the U.S., but the overly broad nature of what is being done in service of some of these goals, especially when there are other tactics available, I think is an unforced error.
Carol Roth is an entrepreneur. She's the author of the book You Will Own Nothing, Your War with a New Financial World Order and How to Fight Back. And again, her free economic newsletter. You can subscribe to it, at carolroth.com/news. Carol Roth, thank you as always.
Great to talk to you guys.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, Amy Jacobson here, and OMG, I was absolutely speechless when I saw my new garage floor. Level 10 Coatings did such an amazing job, and now my garage floor shines. Level 10 Coatings specializes in expert garage floor coatings for both residential and commercial spaces. Their floors are durable, easy to maintain, and best of all, done in just one day. Hey, if you've been thinking about upgrading your garage floor with that shiny new showroom look, please call my good friends at Level 10 Coatings at 855-510-2628 or book your free consultation online at level10coatings.com. And here's a bonus. Mention me, Amy Jacobson, and you'll get $500 off your project. Call 855-510-2628 or visit level10coatings.com today or call 855-510-2628.
You've heard us talk about our campaign this spring with Caring Network. They're a local pro-life organization based in Chicagoland, and they're working to prevent abortions in Illinois by reaching abortion-minded women with a message of life and hope. But they need your help to do that. Illinois has become a destination for so-called abortion tourism, as our neighboring states have restricted abortion in sensible ways. More women are coming here. In fact, the number of abortions in Illinois has doubled in less than 7 years. Caring Network is committed to reaching the abortion-minded woman, the woman who gets pregnant unexpectedly and is likely to go to a Planned Parenthood or another abortion provider to end her pregnancy. Caring Network needs your help to reach her first. You can help this effort by making a one-time donation of $150. That amount will make it possible for Caring Network, that is, to reach 5 women who are considering abortion. Caring Network provides services like telehealth counseling with a nurse. They can also schedule an in-person appointment to show a pregnant woman her baby on an ultrasound. To learn more and to make a donation to Caring Network, just go to 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring.
Come hungry to Scott Tucker Solutions Night at Portillo's, benefiting the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. Join us Thursday, May 22nd from 5 to 8 p.m. at Portillo's in Niles at 8832 West Dempster Street and use the cashier code Portillos20. The night's bill is on Scott Tucker, and you eating free Portillo's helps support the families of fallen and disabled Chicago police officers and their families via the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. Enjoy your favorites, hot dogs, Italian beef, and chocolate cake. Scott Tucker is picking up the check, and Portillo's is donating 20% of gross sales to the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. So bring your appetite to Scott Tucker Solutions Night at Portillo's. It's Thursday, May 22nd from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Portillo's in Niles at 8832 West Dempster Street. And make sure to use the cashier code Portillo's20. Eat well and come out and run up Scott Tucker's bill and support the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. We'll see you there. Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor.
AM 560, The Answer.
Oh, we're not going to have time for the coach's speech.
I guess we'll have to coach manager.
Baseball. I'm sorry, dear Lord.
We'll have to get to the annual installment of the Lee Elia rant.
Yes, Lee Elia.
Tomorrow.
Okay. And we're also on Baby Watch with Justin, so praying for him. We'll hopefully have a big announcement. It's 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
The economy shrinks, so the stock market drops. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The Dow's plunging nearly 800 points after this morning's report showing the economy went into reverse to start the year.
The gross domestic product declined 0.3% in the first quarter. Economists were expecting an increase. The report covers the months leading up to broader tariffs revealed on April 2nd. Consumer spending increased in the quarter, a sign of stocking up as Americans anticipated prices going up.
Fox's Ginny Casola. President Trump reacted on Truth Social, writing, "This is Biden's stock market, not his." Writing, tariffs will start kicking in and companies will move into the U.S. in record numbers and our country will boom like no other. The morning after his big rally in Michigan.
What the world has witnessed in the past 14 weeks is a revolution of common sense. That's all it is.
Marking what he calls the most successful first 100 days for any president ever.
We're ending the inflation nightmare, the worst that we've had probably in the history of our country, getting woke lunacy and transgender insanity the hell out of our government.
Democrats tout low Trump job approval numbers, calling his first 100 days chaos. Here's Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
He's acting like a king, a mob boss, a wannabe dictator. He said he wanted to be a dictator on day one. It looks like he's extending it.
The Supreme Court is about to hold a hearing this hour, considering what Oklahoma's Republican Governor Kevin Stitt tells Fox
is the biggest religious and education freedom case in our history.
He is hoping for a ruling that allows
the nation's first religious charter school. That measure could also greatly expand taxpayer funding for religious education.
That's Fox's Todd Pyro.
The Wall Street Journal reporting today's argument will specifically consider, does a church have a First Amendment right to open a taxpayer-funded charter school, or can a state exclude religious charter applicants in the name of secular public education?
America's listening to Fox News.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Cloudy, you'll see